Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, the college football news just doesn't stop. The college football coaching carousel does not stop. Michigan's head coach, Sherrone Moore, now Michigan's ex-head coach. And not only has he been fired for cause, and he's been arrested. Allegations of an inappropriate relationship with a worker at a co-worker at the University of Michigan. Zero tolerance from the Wolverines. So everything topsy-turvy. That's a major job opening up. There are all kinds of rumor and speculation already. Kalen DeBoer at Alabama has been mentioned. And on top of that, it's not just the coaching carousel, but the transfer portal is about to open up. Michigan needs to come up with a good answer and come up with a good answer quickly, because they both have a young, talented roster that could be poached. They have a top 15 recruiting class that could be poached. And there'll be plenty of teams around college football, certainly in the Big Ten, but outside the Big Ten as well, looking to shop at the University of Michigan. So it's a bombshell development yesterday afternoon, with the story kind of developing into the evening. We'll see where that goes. A little closer to home, the Utah Mammoth get beat again. They've lost 3 in a row now. They've lost 7 of their last 9. It's not going well. This one's kind of predictable. It's hard fought. Played the Florida Panthers, lost 4-3, was tied at 1 after 1 period, tied at 3 after 2 periods, and they give up a goal in the final minute and lose 4-3. It was a rough one. Another L. Little encouraging signs, but they don't really need encouraging signs. They need wins. All right, let's get to it. Here is the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Florida Panthers scored in the final minute of regulation, and the Utah Mammoth fall in a heartbreaker, 4-3 at the Delta Center on Wednesday night. It was a game where Utah got a breakaway goal from Dylan Gunther in the first to go up 1-0.
Now Gunther's got a break. Gunther moves in and scores! Dylan Gunther scoring and soaring, and it's 1-0.
Blazing start for Utah out of the gates, as they had 9 shots in the first 10 minutes, second most in a game, and then they were able to capitalize on that Dylan Gunther goal with the feed ahead from John Marino, 11:23 into the opening frame. Florida then started a stretch of 3 goals in just over 4 minutes, and they all of a sudden had a 3-1 lead. Carter Verhaeghe in the final minute of the first, and then Sam Bennett, 1:40 into the second and 3:24 into the second. 3-1 Panthers at that point, but Utah stormed back from, guess who? Dylan Gunther.
A missed assignment, but now it's Gunther on another break. Gunther looking for number 2, and he scores! Dylan Gunther gets one back.
So back to a 1-goal game after the Panthers led 3-1 for 13 seconds. And Utah, just a few minutes later, would get Jack McBain's second of the year out in front, slamming one home on Sergei Bobrovsky. And we were tied at 3.
Back of goal for Utah, up top. One-timer, Durzian, rebound, loose, and they score! Jack McBain taps it in, and we're tied at 3.
Great goaltender matchup at Delta Center on Wednesday night. Sergei Bobrovsky, the 2-time Stanley Cup champion, winning goaltender. Karel Vejmelka stopped 32. Veggie saw 18 shots in the third period before Florida scored on their 19th in the final minute, but he was under attack and coming up huge.
Still loose in the Utah zone. Rodriguez Jones fires one on target. Save Vejmelka, and he reached back to save the rebound as well. Loose on the side of the net. Veggie's got it covered.
And then harmlessly enough, off a face-off, kind of a broken play, Anton Lundell with 52 seconds left to go in the third. That does it. Panthers take it 4-3. Mammoth back home tomorrow, hosting Seattle at 7 p.m. We'll have it for you on the AM side, but the Jazz at Memphis will be on AM 1280. The KSL Sports Zone starting at 6 on Friday night. Let's hear from head coach Andre Turney after this one.
Obviously, a tough pill to swallow, the way it happened. Veggie was really good. I think we showed a lot of character, being down by 2 goals and coming back in the game and give ourselves a chance. Like I said, really frustrating to lose in that fashion. I think in the third period we we got in trouble, got in the box. That's how they got their momentum. I think at 5-on-5 we played good. Well, a little bit too much on our heels, but mostly from our penalties. And I think we defended well until the last minute.
Something that we talked about pregame was having a strong start, bringing energy, bringing speed in that opening frame. What did you see out of your team?
Yeah, well, I was happy about that. I think we were focused, we were urgent. Obviously, they're a good team, and I think we did a lot of good stuff. I didn't like our start of the saga. Well, it's not true. We didn't play bad. We made 2 mistakes, and they capitalized on those 2 mistakes, which is it's not what you want. But at some point, not expecting either to play a perfect game. So they were unforced. The second one was unforced. That I didn't like. But other than that, was not like we were not playing well. We were playing well and made an individual mistake. And then we showed a lot of character to come back in the game and to tie the game. And we had good momentum. We applied a lot of pressure. We did a lot of good stuff. And like I said, about the third period, that's unfortunate.
Just in terms of the character game, Dylan and Jack both mentioned that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what is the building block for character games? How do you stack those?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, I will need to unpack it, and I'm human too. I'm frustrated. I'm not it's, like I said, tough pill to swallow. You want to win, or you want to at least get a point out of that game. So I will need to unpack it. But one thing. We generate from different fashion. We had a good net presence. If I'm not, Florida is one of the most stingy team in the league, and we generate a fair amount of opportunity, above three of expected goal for. So we generate way more than what they normally give. That's a positive. Obviously, we'll have loved to defend a little bit better, especially in the third. I think they, like I said, I don't want to repeat too much, but get the momentum on their power play, and it was tough for us to regain the momentum after.
Dylan Guenther, who had his first 2-goal game of the season on Wednesday night. Last year at this time he had 3, but he's still trending ahead of the 27 goals that he had last season, even before the 2 that he scored on Wednesday night. Scored a pair on a breakaway as Utah in their third game without Logan Cooley. And you get guys like Dylan Guenther doing some big stuff to keep the Mammoth rolling offensively. Utah has now scored 3 goals or more in 8 of their last 11. We heard from Dylan Guenther after the game.
We played pretty well. Even in the third, I thought we managed it well. They played really well, and we were on our heels too much. Probably just a few more pucks in deep and a few more offensive zone draws. Jack mentioned the word character game. What does that mean to you in terms of the way this group plays? Yeah, they got up early, and we came back and fought hard. And I thought we played well, but wanted to get the 2 points at the end.
What did you see out of your goaltender on that power play that Florida had at the end, and then him stopping all those shots in the third? Yeah, he played really well. Feel for him. We want to get that win for him, and he kept us in it, especially in the end. I think they had like 19 shots in the third. So, that comes with power plays, but still too many.
2 goals on the breakaway for you now. How much of a confidence boost is that for you as an individual?
Yeah, it's nice. Just try to use my speed and get above guys. They're man on man pretty much all over the ice, so just try to beat my guys up the ice.
You scored pretty much the same goal twice. Was that the second time you had it on your stick? Were you just thinking, it worked the first time, might as well try it again? Or? Yeah,
I thought maybe you'd see that coming, so I just went to the backhand, and it happened so fast, but just reps and the pre-scout too.
How do you guys get on the other side of a lot of these 1-goal games? Is losing so many, but how do you get on the other side of that?
I think to shoot a few more pucks. Be comfortable in those situations. When the game's tight, I don't think we have to get on our heels. Just keep pressing, keep attacking them, and it's unfortunate, but we play again in 2 nights, so make sure we get one to close it out.
Third period, they have control of the ice, in the offensive puck, control the puck in the offensive zone. Sorry, just what is it that you guys can do to kind of gain more control late in the game and try to tilt the ice a little bit?
I think maybe just tighten up our shifts, shorten them up throughout the game. Playing a lot, so guys are tired, guys are banged up, and try to do that, a few more offensive zone draws, and just making sure when we get the puck out, it's going all the way down, not just three-quarter ice.
What are you guys learning right now?
I think that we're in every game and just have to find a way to get the 2 points.
Thanks.
Jack McBain joined a new line on Wednesday night, playing with Michael Carconi and Daniil Boot as head coach Andre Cherney swapped Hayton and Boot on the second and third lines, and both those lines got at least a goal. Krause, Hayton, and Gunther got 2. Carconi, McBain, and Boot got 1. And we heard from Jack McBain after the game, just over 48 hours after he laid down 7 hits for the Mammoth Wednesday night, scored a big goal.
I think it's fair to say that was probably one of the best fights and willingness to battle we've seen out of you guys in a while. Let's start with the positives, the takeaways you guys had from that game in terms of effort.
Yeah, I just think we showed good character coming back in the second there. Probably could have done a little bit more in the third, but it's a good team. We hung in there for a while. It's unfortunate.
As far as, the learning lessons, the adversity that you learned from a few too many opportunities that they took advantage of, what would those areas of improvement be?
I think we did a pretty good job getting to the net. I think not only bodies, but we got a lot of pucks there. I think we were pretty stingy through most of the game. I think obviously learn from it, move on, and try to get better.
What stood out about the start that you guys had, bringing your speed and relentless energy against them?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought we were generating, throughout the lineup. I thought, a lot of guys had good games, and I think when we're playing like that, we were definitely tough to play against. So, more of it.
So Utah entered Wednesday in a playoff spot. Chicago won on Wednesday, so the Mammoth now a point out. But for Utah, again, the grand expectation is to make the playoffs, but with the schedule that they've got before Christmas, General Manager Bill Armstrong has stated it's the goal just to be in a good spot going into Christmas. Not being in a playoff spot right now isn't something that is overly concerning. Just aware of the schedule and the games that have piled up. Again, we say this is a playoff team, but after 82 games, not necessarily on December 11th. We'll be talking all about it on Mammoth Daily, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, the Utah Mammoth YouTube page, and SCG Plus. Mike Folta and I will be along. We'll get his morning after. Our Thursday Expert Series, we'll have Nick Olczyk joining us to talk about what's it like being between the benches during games, and we'll take a look back at our Pay It Forward day for our players and where they were at. Smiths, Target, Swig. On Tuesday, a fun edition of Mammoth Daily coming up. Hockey Night in Utah returning on Friday again on the AM dial, 6 p.m. Hockey Night in Utah on 1280. Puck drops just after 7.
There is the best of the post-game show as the Utah Mammoth lose at home to the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. When we come back, we're talking football with Riley Jensen. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined by Riley Jensen, college football expert and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
Good morning, my guys.
You having a post-football letdown, or you're all fired up for bowl games and playoffs?
A little bit of a letdown. The bowl games, to me, have definitely taken a little bit of a hit. But I am looking forward to the playoffs. I think the playoffs will be really fun to watch.
It's really amazing to me to watch BYU's offense. It looks so good on that first possession and go 90 yards in, I don't know how many, was it 10, 12, 14 plays? And then really couldn't do anything the rest of the game. And it looked creative, and it looked like, okay, man, they've got a shot to make this competitive. And then it didn't happen. How do you explain that?
Well, first of all, every first drive is scripted. So it's probably the plays that you've run the most. But the one thing that Texas Tech is really good at that I don't think people are talking about, yes, they're really good on the defensive line. Yes, they're really good on the offensive line, but their coaching is good. They make good adjustments. They adjust to the different things that are going on. And then I think the other thing is LJ was more healthy. I thought they were going to – I kind of thought the same thing as you, so I'm thinking out loud a little bit, like what happened. But I also think that in the progression of Bear Bachmeier, he's going to have to learn I mean, he's been so effective in running the football when things haven't gone or haven't looked the way that he wants them to look downfield. And Texas Tech, in both games that they played, they completely took that away from him. So it's no different than a basketball player when one portion of your game is off or one portion of your game is taken away. You got to really figure out how to contribute to your team when your shot's off, for example. So can you rebound? Can you play defense? Can you make sure that you're hitting the open guy, on offense in basketball? And I think that's what Bear's going to have. That's going to be the next level thing, is that he can turn a regular play into a backyard play, but there are times where they're going to take that away from you, and then what? And I think that's the next progression for him. I'm not saying that he played a terrible season or that he didn't play good. There's so much to be hopeful for, but against the really good teams, they're going to try and take away something from you. And are you able to pivot and be able to use the rest of your game to be able to win games for your team? Because he can't just be a game manager if you're going to play, against the best of the best. He's going to have to be able to win games for this team. And I think he has it in him. I think that his progression is right on track, if not ahead of where I thought it could be or should be as a big-time quarterback. But it just takes time. And every game that he gets is going to be an opportunity to see a different defense, to see a different reaction to his talent and to the talent of the team that's around him, and then get just a little bit better each year, each game, each week.
I thought the first drive they were able to block Texas Tech a little bit, and after that, I thought they couldn't. And I thought some of the turnovers, especially the fumble on the play where the quarterback's got his back to the line of scrimmage, it was like a jailbreak. Three defenders beat their blockers and were in the backfield almost instantly. How much of all of this can be summed up to you can't block Texas Tech, and that's why they beat BYU twice and Utah once, and those schools didn't really lose to anybody else. They dominated everybody else in the Big 12, but they just couldn't block Texas Tech.
No, he couldn't. I mean, I really think football comes down, as much as I love the quarterback position, as much as I love watching the beauty and the art of skill positions. I mean, you ask any football coach, you give them truth serum, and it's all about the offensive and defensive lines. And there's some cobwebs on the offensive line as well. I mean, there were some things that happened where you could almost see the offensive line for BYU just go, oh man, like they were just like, oh man, this is happening again. And you can see them lose some confidence. Like that first drive was a real confidence builder. So I was with PK where I was like, ooh, okay. So they made some adjustments and they came off the ball and they were ready to go. And then, some of the adjustments from Texas Tech just had the offensive line for BYU on their heels. And then I think on the other side of the ball too, the defensive line just wasn't able to put the pressure on the ball and to do the things that a normal BYU defense has been able to do in Texas. I'm with Kalani. I don't see a lot of flaws in Texas Tech. Like, I think they have a real opportunity to do something in this playoff. And if they do, that bodes well. That bodes well for the Big 12. That bodes really well for the Big 12.
Now we're in a transfer season, and we see kids come and go, some 2 and 3 times. And you were a player, and it's impossible to provide an accurate answer, but it's more a surmise of what you might have thought you would do in the situation. And I'll propose a situation to you to where you're in a good situation, right? You're playing well, team's winning. Maybe not winning all, but you're winning half or more of your games, and you like where you're at, but somebody can give you double or even triple the money. What do you think you would do?
So this is a tough one, and this has a little bit to do with my history, I transferred before it was cool, and certainly way before there was any sort of money that would be involved. Here's what I think young kids are forgetting, and this is also where the money could actually make teams that aren't very good a little bit better. Is you're now a professional athlete, and let's just say that you're playing. Let's just say you're a quarterback at Idaho State, and you started your freshman and your sophomore year, and you threw for 3,000 yards, right? And your team is competing in the FCS championships, and they're playing really well. Well, I mean, and you get offered to go play at Washington, right? That's an easy choice, I think. You're not talking about that scenario, but you're talking about You're talking about a Utah State quarterback that's competing for a Mountain West Conference championship, and then somebody comes knocking on the door and doubles or triples what you're making. I think the temptation's there, especially depending on the amount of money. I mean, I was looking through the list of the top 25 paid athletes in college football. There wasn't one that was under $1.6 million.
Right.
I mean, that's really, really good money to get you started in life. I think it would be really, really hard to turn that down, especially but not every player's getting offered that, So it's hard for me to tell a kid not to take the money, but I will tell you that happiness doesn't exist on the other side just because you're getting paid. If you go to an average team and they're paying you a lot, football's not very fun on loss weeks. I can tell you that as a guy who's experienced 10-1 in a season and a guy who's experienced 3-8 in a season. It's not very fun when you're 3-8. I don't care who you are. It's not very fun. And so if you're getting paid a lot of money, but you're 3-8, and that's not true happiness. And you're not going to play as good as you can play when you're on a 3-8 team as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm looking at Sam Levitt and Sorsby, two guys in the Big 12 that played on teams that won games, right? Just this year. Obviously, Levitt had the big season last year as far as the team winning games. But both those guys have an opportunity to get way more money. But they're in good situations. But the money's going to be better someplace else. I'm just wondering, what do? You chase the money. I would never criticize somebody for chasing the money because that's exactly what it is. It's money, and that provides you with opportunities that money doesn't provide you with. And then you wonder, 10, 15 years later, should I have stayed with my guys, but I took the money? It's a dilemma for these young fellows that they find themselves in. A good dilemma, but nevertheless, it's a dilemma.
Well, I think it's hard because, you have Daniels who for Sam Levitt, it's almost the exact same scenario, right? It's LSU that's probably going to poach and probably pay him between $4 and $5 million. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of money. My thought is, though, with Sam Levitt is you're going to go pro anyway. So what are you chasing? I mean, not just last year you were in the playoffs and you had an opportunity to take your team. So I don't know. I don't know that that's an easy decision because I think he was on that list of top 25 players. I think he was one of the lower ones at 1.6. But he's probably going to get offered around $5 million to play. You're talking about 5 times as much as you make.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, any of us would take that.
Right.
Any of us would take that right now. Yeah. I don't know exactly what your contracts are. I know what mine is, and I think 5 times more than what I'm making. I'm like, honey, I think we're moving.
I think the easy math on $5 million, Riley, is if he lost half of it in taxes and spent $500,000, I don't know, bought a house and had a very small mortgage or whatever, he'd have $2 million to invest, which means that's probably $80,000. Assuming 4%, that's $80,000 a year for the rest of his life. Invested, that he doesn't have to go to work and earn. He earned whatever he does. Yeah. He's got to stay busy. Whatever he does the rest of his life is on top of this steady stream of $80,000 a year.
Right.
Well, that's
like an annuity.
Yeah, exactly. It's an annuity. And so that's really hard to walk away from. You still tell someone, hey, I don't want to leave ASU, but I can buy a house and get $80,000 a year for the rest of my life.
And NFL's not off the table. It's not like he still doesn't have the opportunities.
Yeah, it's a question mark for him. It could go either way.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's not like because he goes to LSU, like he's not gonna have the opportunities that he has at Arizona State. So it's hard to turn down. It is. The truth is we're talking about the outliers. The two players that you're talking about are outliers.
Yeah.
I just saw a tweet this morning from a college coach that said only 40% of the players who went into the portal got picked up and were even offered a scholarship, let alone money, right? So it's easy to get lost looking at the outliers. The truth is transferring is not always what it's cracked up to be, and it never has been. The water's, the grass is greener where you water it. And I think that's still true, even with the money that's going on.
Grass is greener
where you water it.
So I always like to, my mother said, don't bleep where you eat. And so you're talking about the grass is greener where you water it. And I kind of look at it differently.
I kind of like your mom's quote's pretty good, too. I like that one.
Yeah, my mother's vocabulary and DJ's mother's vocabulary was quite different.
I think my mother's vocabulary and my kids' mother's vocabulary is also quite a bit different. I think that has to do with back east. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, you need some of that, man. Can't all be roses and sunshine all day long.
I don't think – listen, my mom – I actually have this theory that moms are what makes little boys tough, because dads are always going to get on their kids, right? But it's moms that make your kids tough. My mom was actually tough on me in a lot of ways. She just didn't use curse words. My wife does both.
I don't see how you live without doing both, actually.
I know, because you're from back east.
I am.
Dude, I talked to you for like 5 minutes. I'm like, golly, there's a lot of similarities here. These people.
I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. I know what it is. I don't know why it is.
I love it. I mean, obviously, I married into it. So.
Yeah. You're one of us now by relations, by marriage. Yeah, so that's good enough. You understand.
I know. And it's funny because you'll see a coach yell at my son, and it doesn't even. It's like it's not as bad as what mom would say. I mean, my wife teases my son so bad after a bad game. It's like a joke. It's like, oh really? We 2 for 8 from the free throw line. That's who we are. That's what we are. As a family, that's what we do. And I'm like, dude, easy.
The mental health performance coach. I would not be recommending.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if this is the right approach, but I mean, you do you. I'll do my stuff on the other side.
Riley, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week, and there'll be a bowl game looming at that point.
I'm pumped about it. It's going to be fun to watch BYU play against Georgia Tech. It's going to be fun to watch Utah against. Yeah, I mean, all the teams in the state of Utah in a bowl game, it's fun.
There's Riley Jensen. A reminder, get the best blankets and gifts ever and save 50% this season with promo code ZONE50. Shop online at MikiCouture.com or visit any of their 6 locations. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dick Gabriel. He covers the University of Kentucky. Like Utah, they are looking for financial solutions. They are looking for more money. And they've turned to an LLC. How's it working there? How similar is it to what's happening at Utah? Plenty of questions. We'll try to get some answers from Dick Gabriel next. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Dick Gabriel, Big Blue Insider host and Kentucky Wildcats sideline reporter. Dick, good morning.
Some people call me DG, so I think I fit right in.
DJ, PK. All right, DG.
You guys, you're up early, man.
Yeah, we are. That's fact. So the University of Utah announced this private equity deal for $500 million, and we found out Kentucky has done an LLC. Maybe they haven't done the same thing. Maybe they are tiptoeing towards that. We don't know much about this high finance stuff. Explain it to us like we're five, and is it working, and how is it helping? How does it matter to the average sports fan?
I'm a fellow 5-year-old.
Okay.
But what you just need to understand, like all of us do, is it's about revenue streams. College athletic departments have run out of I shouldn't say that. They're looking for creative new revenue streams because, let's face it, what they've gotten in the past, the majority of it has been broadcast revenue.
Yeah.
TV rights, local and national and regional. The SEC network has enriched all these SEC schools. The Big Ten makes even more. I'm not sure what it's like on your side of the country, but it's top heavy over here. But they need more. They're always going to need more. And then every AD, at least in the power schools, Division I, they got stuck with this $20.5 million price tag. You're supposed to spend X amount of dollars on these athletes. Now, where's that going to come from? Well, some schools are going to chop sports. They just have to. They haven't done that over here yet. But, look at a school like Ohio State's got 36. Kentucky funds more sports teams than any school in the Southeastern Conference, believe it or not. Amazingly, one of them is not equine. Here we are in the middle of horse country, and they don't have an equine program, but it's too expensive. That's what they have to look at now. So they're just looking for newer ways to make money. Now they're selling alcohol in stadiums. So they came up here with what's called the Champions Blue LLC that the Board of Trustees here has approved. It's a limited liability kind of holding company deal like you guys have over there. You're about to. And it's essentially been a success here in that it's similar to how Kentucky, UK in recent years acquired two major community hospitals, one in Ashland, Kentucky, and Eastern Kentucky, one in Moorhead, Kentucky, similar area. And they are similarly structured within similarly structured holding companies that do report to the university and its board of trustees. So they had a roadmap that enabled them to see that this can work. Why couldn't it work in athletics? So that's kind of the Sesame Street version of it, and really that's my level of understanding. I just know that having talked to the athletic director here and others, man, they're running out of ways to make money. They don't want to. They're going to have to. They don't want to raise ticket prices. They cannot renegotiate very often TV and radio. What else can they do, right?
How much of that transfers down to the forms of NIL? We at least hear with Mark Pope, we follow him because he coached here, obviously, that the basketball team is well compensated. Now, I know they're having their struggles, but that's beside the point. I'm just wondering how much of all this stuff that's been going on ends up in the pockets of the players.
It goes through that $20.5 million. That's right. And then now the rest, in terms of the guidelines, has to come from outside entities, from donors, from companies, things like that. That's some of the structure that Mitch Barnard, the AD here, has been keeping an eye on. You cannot, and they moved quickly to shut this down. You can't give a kid a high-paying job. You're going to pay $100,000 to make sure the lights at the football stadium aren't on tonight. That sort of stuff. That's old school graft.
Yeah.
So they did away with bogus jobs, or they've tried to do away with bogus jobs. You can be paid for a job, but it's got to be what Joe Bag of Donuts gets paid, not just a college athlete. So to answer your question directly, it goes into that big pool, the $20.5 million, but a lot of the NIL money comes from outside the university. It has to by rule.
So these people coming in with in the case of you here, these private equity people, they're going to want money back. And, of course, coaches need money. There's travel expenses. You got the whole staff to pay for. Now you're paying players too. So now there's going to be another mouth to feed, essentially. And where's that money going to come from? And I'm wondering how much of it comes from facilities. At the U, they could build a new basketball arena. The old one's been there since, I think, 1969. It doesn't have luxury suites and bunker suites and all kinds of high-end stuff. Maybe there's a lot of money to be made there. Have there been not an investment in facilities like practice facilities and that kind of stuff, which are expensive but don't generate revenue? Have they done stuff with like football stadiums, with Rupp Arena? Have they done anything there? Is there anything you could tell us about how that's worked?
Yes, that's a great question because University of Kentucky is a tenant in the building where it plays. Rupp Arena does not belong to the university. It belongs to the city of Lexington, to the downtown Lexington Corporation, basically. Kentucky rents the building. And there have been years where back when concerts were much bigger than they are now, they had to work in and around concert scheduling. The first event in Rupp Arena in 1976 was not a Kentucky basketball game, my friends. It was a Lawrence Welk concert.
Of course.
It's better now. Yeah.
The Maestro.
And they filled the house. But there aren't as many events like that now. But on the other side of campus, they renovated the Kentucky football stadium several years ago. They reduced the seating capacity, which, as I understand it, is not unusual now, so they could put in more suites. So to answer your question, that's a good question. Yeah, they're making more money, or at least trying to make more money off, of course, ticket sales, but the suite sales at football. Now, you've got to have a winning program, obviously, and they just fired their football coach, who had become the winningest coach of all time at Kentucky, 8 straight bowl games. And I will tell you this, and I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but the Kentucky football coach was a victim of his own success. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, but he was. So back-to-back losing seasons, he's out. And now people who were saying, I'm not pouring another dollar into that program. I mean rank-and-file fans, not just boosters, because they're playing crappy football. Well, now they're excited again because they just hired Oregon's offensive coordinator. So the combination of ticket sales, suite sales, alcohol sales now, they've got a plan on the boards for expanding that area around there. Maybe put up a hotel, in a concert area, things like that. But now they're going to have to borrow money from the state to do that. They did renovate Rupp Arena a few years ago, but it was the city that did that. Kentucky does not have a great deal with Rupp Arena. The city gets the parking money. The city gets, I don't know how much of a cut Kentucky gets from concessions and things like that, but it's not a real super deal. And there was a point where Kentucky looked at building an on-campus basketball facility and thumbing its nose at Rupp Arena, but they realized in order to build it to the standards that they want, in other words, seating capacity and everything you need and having it up to code, it would have cost between $750 million and $1 billion to put it on campus. So not feasible. So they got the deal they got.
We see Texas Tech with this Cody Campbell just infusing all sorts of money into their program, and look at them go, right? And we've seen other programs. I'm wondering, from a general standpoint and also from a specific standpoint with what Kentucky's got going on, is that going to be the requirement for success? Is that you must have not just one, not two. And we've seen it with BYU here with their basketball team and what they're doing, obviously. I mean, just the amount of improvements. Mark Pope, I don't think would recognize the program if he came back, and he's barely even gone 2 years, not even 2 years yet. I mean, you just look at the number of bodies because they all wear the same clothes behind the bench. And I was joking last night with Mark Pope's predecessor, Dave Rose, about the number of people on the staff now. And, it's largely they've got these big-time boosters. There was an ESPN story that one booster said relative to the basketball team, you will not outbid us, or we will not be outbid, something along those lines. So is it going to come down to, and what does Kentucky have available as far as those types of big-money guys? Not as much as schools located in the West Texas oil country. And I worked in Texas for a couple of years, so I know what's what over there. And that's an incredible story at Texas Tech with a guy and his partner who started buying up oil leases and or land leases and struck oil. You almost have to do that. But the problem in the state of Kentucky is, while it may be in terms of tradition
basketball rich. It's not a rich state. And there is one man in particular who is a billionaire, and his name is Joe Kraft, and a couple of buildings are named after him. He is an incredibly generous person. He just, donated homes to 10 different families in eastern Kentucky that were wiped out by a recent flood. He and his wife do a lot of charity work, but they're huge Kentucky fans. And, in fact, his wife made it a point of standing in the coach's box on the sidelines with the Kentucky football coaching staff this season. Usually she's up in the suites for much of the game and, maybe on the sideline for the first part of the game. She stood in the coach's box as a show of solidarity with Mark Stoops. Didn't stand right next to him, but so anyhow, they're big Kentucky fans. But as he put it to one of my colleagues, I'm the only one in terms of the billionaires, and I don't know how many there are in Kentucky, but he's the guy for UK. They've got more than one benefactor, but he's the richest. He's the biggest name, and he's only going to donate so much. So they got to develop some new relationships. But you're right on. I mean, every school that looks to try to outbid people. Here's the problem, though, is now you've got a basketball program that's struggling for whatever reason, and immediately people assume nationwide, and that's just here in Kentucky, that all these kids care about is their money. And I don't necessarily believe that, but it certainly cushions the blow, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, as long as we're talking about the struggles, and a lot of people here know Mark Pope because he was at Utah Valley before he was at BYU, so he's got some, he spent some time here to be sure. Kentucky's 6-4. Now, this is just my cursory look, but I see 6 money games at home that they won, that they were supposed to, that they paid to win, and I see 4 ranked opponents in power leagues, all recognizable names, including in-state rival Louisville, and I see losses. So I'm thinking massive amounts of dissension. Is this something they're capable of turning around, or this team is what it is?
Not just losses, butt kickings. That's what's bothered people. I don't think there's dissension. I think there's confusion. And I think the biggest reason is the fact that their point guard, the guy I don't know what they paid, but they brought in Jalen Lowe, who was an excellent point guard at Pittsburgh, not a great shooter, but a great playmaker. He carried that team last year, hurt his shoulder in the offseason, then hurt it again in the inter-squad game, and now he's going to be day-to-day for the rest of the year. It's just a matter with that labrum injury of how much he can take. He played last night, but came in, midway through the second half. Against Gonzaga, it was a nightmare, a disaster, because their shots weren't falling. They weren't getting good shots, and they let go of the rope. And they looked awful to the point where DeMarcus Cousins tweeted that they had no heart. Dan Issel went on the radio. He used to have a radio show in Louisville, and he checked in from his home. I think he still lives in Denver, and said his team is hard to watch. Well, it is, because there's no cohesion offensively, because they've got Denzel Aberdeen, who played at Florida last year, is not really a point guard trying to run the point. And, Mark's got to shoulder a lot of the blame because he built this roster, and on paper it looked great until you realize there's no backup true point guard. And they ran into that problem last year, and they have that problem again this year. So he's going to deal with this, I think, for the rest of the year. He hadn't forgotten how to coach. He did a great job last year. But it's the mix right now that isn't working because they don't have anybody who can get them into their offense. So now when the shots aren't falling, they look awful.
Mark here, to some folks, was perceived as a lot of hype, and how much substance was there behind it. And depending on who you are, I can give you a lot of people who love the guy, and I can give you some people who think he's a big old phony. How is he received there as a person?
Well, of course, this being Kentucky with the Big Blue Nation, you've already got fans who are saying, this guy needs to go, But I wish you may have seen video of the news conference, which was really a pep rally the day he was introduced as the head coach.
Oh, yeah, we saw
And there were a lot of people back then. Oh, yeah. And as you know, there were probably a lot of people who still are skeptical about Pope. Is this the right guy for the job? But Calipari had just left. He had lost touch with the fans, just seemed really distant, seemed that he wasn't more interested in putting kids in the NBA. That wasn't the case. but he talked it up a lot because that's how he was able to recruit top-level players, talking up the NBA all the time, and it worked. Now, he lost too many games he shouldn't have lost, so they needed a break from each other, the school and Calipari. So when Mark Pope came on, quote-unquote, one of our own, said the fans, national champion, he pushed every button in that introductory news conference without prompting from the university. I was thinking, man, they've really prepped him well for this. We later found out he didn't talk to anybody. He did it all on his own. He's a smart guy, you know that. Look, he's a good coach. He is. He's. I think I've known Mark since he was a player here. I produced a documentary about the 1996 team. I did a 1-hour special just with Mark after the championship game. So I've known him for a while. He is who he is. Now, what he showed last night during their win over NC Central, which is not a great team, and they destroyed them, but his backup center, loafed down the floor during a fast break. Pope yanked him, benched him for the rest of the game, visibly upset. Didn't reach Pitino levels.
Go sit down.
But yes, go sit down, exactly. That is something that fans had not seen yet from Mark Pope. That might be a breakthrough moment.
Well, DG, we appreciate the time and the perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime, fellas. Have a great day.
All right, there's Dick Gabriel covering the University of Kentucky. Coming up, we're talking Big 12 football with Barry Tramel at 8 o'clock, and Frank Dolce joins us at 8:30. Stay with us. What is trending? The headlines are coming up next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
They've been very supportive. I think my younger children are most excited. They're excited because they don't remember Dad playing. My 6-year-old actually asked me 4 months ago, Dad, why don't you play anymore? And I'm like, hon, I'm sorry. The best you're going to get is me coaching on the sideline, But I think share the same sentiment. A little nervous, Dad, you think you can do it?
No, I do not think Daddy can do it. He is 44 years old. He has not played in 5 years. He is not as fast as he used to be. Because I can tell you for a fact, at 44, nobody's 44-year-old speed is going to beat their 39-year-old speed. If you could do a time travel match, he's not going to be able to run away from those guys. It's not just speed, it's quickness. And he hasn't had another 300-pound human being run into him in 5 years. If 44-year-old quarterbacks were a thing, there'd be 2 of them. And right now there's 1 of them, Tom Brady. Don't give me George Blanda, you old-timers. He was kicking and you know it.
Well, he's 48. Come on.
He was kicking and you know it. And the game is really different than it was then. So, no, I don't believe he can do it. It's crazy. I think Jeff Saturday, longtime Indianapolis Colts player, center for Peyton Manning, briefly Colts head coach, interim head coach very briefly, but mostly a TV talking head. His advice was get rid of it quick. You can't sidestep people. You can't outrun them. Get rid of it quick. I mean, to the Colts, credit, but to explain this, they've had 3 quarterbacks get hurt this year. 3. That's a problem. The funniest thing that has come out of this, and it's more ironic funny than it is ha-ha funny, is I saw a cartoon with Colin Kaepernick standing on the sideline with his. It's like anybody. They'll take anybody a quarterback. Although with Kaepernick, with his age, he's not in Phillip Rivers territory, but he's getting there. Colts are one team that has really struggled and fallen apart here. They've lost 3 in a row. They've lost 4 out of 5. I think they're going to crash out of the AFC playoffs. I really don't see why they're going to win again, which is all the more reason, and I know that's a bad attitude for competitors to take, and I'm taking an attitude the Colts shouldn't take. But on the other hand, I don't have a horseshoe on my helmet. I don't have a helmet for that matter. But they're at the Seahawks, home to the 49ers, home to the Jaguars, and at the Texans. If they play really well, they're going 2-2. Could they go 0-4? You bet they could go 0-4. And a team that's playing tonight is another team that is crashing. and that is Atlanta at Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, they got off to a great start. They were playing great football. They were 5-1, and they lost to the Eagles by 6 points. I mean, it happens. They beat the Seahawks, they beat the Niners, they beat the Texans. They beat teams that are sitting either in playoff spots or, in the case of the Texans, racing towards the playoff spot that I believe Houston's going to get. Since then, they've gone 2-5. And the wins are over the Saints and the Cardinals. I mean, you better beat the Saints and the Cardinals. And the fact is, they split with the Saints and went 1-1. And I know they had some tough games in there. Bills, Rams, absolutely, Patriots. But not feeling good about the way things are going for Tampa Bay right now. Now, they've got Atlanta and Miami, which are winnable games. And they've got Carolina twice, which should decide who wins the division. So Tampa Bay could still do it. I'd be surprised if they go very far once they get in the playoffs. I'm looking at the Rams and the Seahawks. I don't know if the Eagles can get it together, but Rams, Seahawks, Packers, I think, take those three versus the rest of the NFC to go to the Super Bowl, given what we've seen here in September, October, and November. But Thursday Night Football, Falcons and Bucks tonight. And now the Bucks are, part of this has been health, and they are getting guys back. Mike Evans is awesome. There are a lot of divas at wide receiver, a lot of head cases at wide receiver. I think Mike Evans is awesome. He has gone through multiple quarterbacks. He could have blown up 40 times, and he just keeps catching. I don't know why in the Brady era he didn't have a Cooper Kupp-type season. And partly it was the depth of their receiver core, I suppose, and Brady likes to spread the ball around. But, man, if he'd gone for 1,800 yards, I just think the guy is awesome. Just incredible. And they get him back. He's been out hurt, and Jalen McMillan's coming back. So a boost there. Maybe that'll make a difference. Falcons are missing Kyle Pitts Sr. and Drake London, so they're missing a couple of targets, and they're a 4-win team. They're not that good. Jaden Daniels missed this week's game against the Giants. He's re-injured his left elbow that was dislocated earlier this season. Fell out hard on it last week. I would shut him down for the year. What are they doing? Get him ready for next year. They're 3-10. Improve your draft pick. You're not going anywhere. You're missing game 14. Well, there's only 3 games after that. Shut him down. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
What just happened? Do we have Scotty's drop on that when he screamed, what the hell just happened here? Colorado State game, it was crazy. It looked like they lost, and then they won. Last second play, it literally looked like it was over. Scotty made SportsCenter open twice. That and Sam Merrill's a stud. Sam Merrill's a freaking stud, doesn't apply here. But Michigan, that football program, which appeared to be on an upward trajectory. Right? Exactly. Say it again, Scotty.
What just happened? That's not the Scotty one. I don't know.
That's not Scotty?
I don't know. Does that sound like Scotty?
What just happened? It's a little hard to tell. The voice is so high.
That's very much.
Michigan fired head coach Sherrone Moore with cause for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. He's now in county jail as a suspect in an alleged assault just hours after his firing. LSU fired their coach for cause. They made it up out of thin air. They're just trying to get out of paying money. But in Michigan, well, this is why these clauses are in contracts. What just happened? Inappropriate relationship. Now an assault charge coming. Now they are a 9-3 football team. They had a lot of younger players. The arrow is up. This isn't the era to be patient with team building because of what Indiana's just done. But at the same time, sometimes it does take a while. And Michigan appeared to be doing it right. And after Harbaugh, and they lost everybody in the end, and it looked like they made progress. And they were on their way, 9-3 with guys coming back. And Michigan, not a school that should get outbid NIL and lose a bunch of guys.
Well, yeah, they guys like Bryce Underwood.
But right now, wow. I mean, I got to believe everybody in the Big Ten, not to mention a big chunk of the ACC, the Big 12, and the SEC, and Notre Dame, are thinking, wonder who on that. You know, we were one of the 3 final schools for that recruit. We need to loop back and talk to that kid.
Okay, so Bryce Underwood was the starting quarterback as a true freshman this year.
Yes.
Social media overnight, scrubbed of all Michigan references.
You go for a coach and a staff, and now it's going to be all new. I mean, the rumor overnight, and this stuff's happening so fast, maybe it changed while I was asleep, but Kellen DeBoer at Alabama. Michigan's got to go big game hunting. And maybe Alabama would let him go. Maybe they're not really in love with him because, he's lost 5 games. But Michigan's got to do something. They got to keep that roster together because the rest of college football's got to be like vultures. Hey, we got an upgrade on the Michigan roster. Let's go to the transfer portal. I'm thinking if you're a high school coach, and you've sent a kid to Michigan in the last 2 years, your phone has blown up in the last 24 hours as other schools try to get that kid. Louisville star Chris Bell, wide receiver, considered one of the top receiver prospects in the 2026 NFL Draft, suffered a torn ACL during the November 22nd loss to SMU. He is set to undergo surgery this week. Don't ask me about opt-outs if you see me at the golf course. Apparently, we're going to be golfing all winter long. I didn't make it to the first tee yesterday, and I had 2 people ask me about the Utes deal. One in the clubhouse. I went out, I sat in the cart, I was talking to the person I was playing with in the cart. Hey, blah, 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 yada, yada. I play with them a lot. We try to play in foursomes, so we know everybody. The conversations tend to get weird if you don't. And somebody in a foursome who I don't know as well, as soon as they said, oh, yeah, I got this question, blah, 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 in the clubhouse, we just have to get to the first tee. Other member of the foursome came up, asked me the exact same thing about the Utes. And then before we got to the first tee, the person in the clubhouse was back with one more question. So don't ask me about opt-outs, though. This is why they opt out. You're a top wide receiver. You're the guy. The NFL loves you. You're going to be a top pick in the draft. And you tear an ACL in a game. It happens. It's a violent sport. Every snap, somebody could get hurt. Luckily, nobody gets hurt most snaps. But the risk is high. And Chris Bell, well, the odds went the wrong way. Now, the good thing is they can repair ACLs, and hopefully he'll go on to have a fine career. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Jay Yo-Yo's out front, shadowed by Brooks. 8 seconds. Back of a Wallace pick, grinding right. Bounce passes low to Wallace. Pump fakes. Kicks out to Dub. Angle left 3 is up. And in! Cha-ching! A Thunder money ball at the buzzer. Oh, what a punctuation mark on a brilliant opening half tonight in downtown Oklahoma City.
Castle, killing clock. Shot clock at 10. Castle, James guarding. Castle, step back 3. Yes, sir! Stephon Castle, a 30-point night.
Highlights from the NBA Cup quarterfinals. Spurs beat the Lakers 132-119. San Antonio to the NBA Cup semifinals to play Oklahoma City, who gets a blowout win. Absolutely total and complete destruction. They are amazing. I mean, they're the defending champs, and we thought they were good, but they're 24-1 after beating Phoenix 138-89. Yeah, that's not a typo. They won by 49 points. They were up by 26 at halftime. It was 74-48. Phoenix is already, thank you, sir, may I have another? Holy cow. That is 24-1 for the Thunder. That matches the Warriors' start. You know, the cool thing about sports is there's always something new happening. There's new personalities, new storylines, twists on old ones. But there's also a certain comfortable familiarity, which seems like an oxymoron, but you do get both. And I think that's why sports is so popular, where you see a familiar story come around and then you can sit there and compare it and argue about it. I mean, the Warriors won a title and then had a 73-win season, set an NBA record, but didn't win the title. They were a young team on the way up. Oklahoma City's a young team on the way up. They win the title. They break out of the gate 24-1. How many other teams have done that? Well, the last team to do it would be the Golden State Warriors the year after they won the title. It's the same story. Young group, they conquered the league, they got a ton of confidence, they start the next season on fire. It's crazy. I mean, they won 8 to start the season. They have now won 16 in a row. Now they're only halfway to the Lakers in the record, so there's a long way to go. But nonetheless, 24-1, fantastic start for the Thunder. Just incredible. And the cool thing is, you know, you play all your guys big minutes and you got to rest them, but they haven't. They've had guys out injured who haven't played big minutes. They came in and played the Jazz. They sat 3 starters that night who didn't go. So they're 25 games in, they're flying, and I don't think they're burning their guys out. I mean, Jalen Williams has only played 6 games. Chet Holmgren has played 21 of the 25. He's missed 4 games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's only missed that 1 game with the Jazz, and Ajay Mitchell's played 25. But for other key players, 19 games, 17 games, 14 games. Lou Dort has played 16 games. They're not burning these guys out, and they're 24-1. This isn't like they had their top 8 playing them, 35 minutes a night. Well, 30 minutes a night for 25 games. Not that at all. It's amazing.
There's other things in their metrics when both Jalen Williams and Shea are actually off the court. They're actually crushing teams more.
Hard to believe, but there you go. Maybe some of that goes to the quality of the opposition and whether one certain team rolled over. But to your point, they're not dependent on the two guys.
Correct.
These other guys are competent.
Yeah.
Maybe the numbers are a little skewed here, 25 games, a small sample. But nonetheless, they got talent at the top and they got depth. And they may have several high lottery picks from other clubs to add to that depth.
Including one here locally.
Including one, but not the only one they might stumble into. They're working multiple angles right now. In that game, Holmgren got blasted by an alleged screen. Grayson Allen was ejected. Just hard, just physical. It was a cheap shot. It was clearly a cheap shot. I mean, I'd cut him slack on all the tripping stuff and all the stuff at Duke. And you can't completely give him a pass, but wait until you've raised 22 and 27-year-olds. You will give 18, 19, 20, and 21, 22-year-olds a lot more latitude. I know I personally, after going there, they're still growing up, and they're in the public eye, and they're getting big money. This isn't easy. I wasn't, quote-unquote, I don't know if you're ever a finished product, but, I know I grew up a lot in that time period. And I saw my friends grow up a lot. But then I saw it from the perspective of my kids and their friends. I wildly underestimated it. But now he's 30. So he's not a 20-year-old making a bad decision, and that happens. He's 30. What are you doing? That wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't a basketball play. The refs got it right when they ejected him. Steph Curry expected to return to action Friday, recovering from a thigh contusion that caused him to miss 5 games, and they went 2-3 without him. The Warriors, when they have all their guys, can be pretty good. The problem is their guys are at a point in their career where you're more likely to get hurt, and it takes longer to heal. I mean, he missed 5 games for a thigh contusion. It is what it is. I think Steph Curry wants to be on the court. I think he knows time is running out. PK always says when time is running out, everything becomes more precious. I think Steph Curry wants to play in all these regular season games. But they can't stay healthy, and that's going to keep them in the middle of the pack. Derek Lively II undergoing season-ending foot injury to address lingering discomfort. He only played 7 games this season, expected to be cleared for the next season. And it's interesting, the whole stealth tanking and stealth tanking. I've heard NBA people talking about the trade deadline and all that, and you read and we're like, man, you're going to be I don't have a lot of faith in this trade deadline, and you're going to be calling me in 2 months to ask about stealth tanking. A lot of teams are not going to trade to improve their teams. Guys who need surgery are going to get it. Don't play through it. Don't be through the trade. Get it. A third of the league is going to be tanking at the end of the year, and there are going to be wins to be had, and those wins are going to be fool's gold.
And it also points to the fact that they've been heavily considering trading Anthony Davis. You want to talk about, okay, backup center out, trade Davis, and to your point, then all of a sudden the wheels come off and you're sinking down to the bottom.
Dallas is 7 games under 500, just like the Jazz.
Yeah, so they could be right there.
They could be right in the mix with the Pelicans, with the Wizards, with the Pacers, with the Nets, with the Jazz. You could be the 6th worst team in the league and be pretty bad. And that doesn't count. What are the Clippers and Kings doing? Are the Clippers going to move their guys? DJ and PK.
Hashtag college. Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Atlanta Braves have signed veteran outfielder Mike Yastrzemski to 2 years and $23 million. Pete Alonso gets 5 years and $155 million to join the Orioles. The big money is flowing. And that is why.
Polar Bears going down I-95.
And that is why you got to keep your eye on this season, because there won't be a season next year, at least the start of the season next year, to keep your eye on. How deep are they dug in? Are they going to lose 20 games, 40 games, 60 games, 100 games? Are they going to lose the whole thing? I can't predict that, but I would think a quarter of the season, and then we'll see how dug in they are. Do people need paychecks? People making $155 million, now I know he doesn't get all that up front, but Pete Alonso's been making good money, and so he's making $30 million a year. If he puts away some of that $30 million this year, he's not going to be desperate next year. He's just not going to be desperate financially. We haven't, the money has blown up so much over the course of your life, Yak, because you're basically, do you remember the 94 World Series getting wiped out?
So I don't remember it vividly, but it was that was kind of the period when I started to become really a lot more conscious about sports. And I remember reading about it after the fact. So like 95, 96, and the aftermath of it.
It's 30 years. It's a generation and a half.
Correct. And it gave rise to ultimately the latter half of the 90s, the rise of the Yankees dynasty, the summer of 98, all that stuff.
The players had the money to wait that out.
Correct.
To wait out when they went out in the middle of August and September and crashed the World Series. And then they started waiting out the next season, and the owners crumbled. The owners wanted then what they wanted now. They wanted a cap.
Yeah.
The NBA had gotten their cap 8 or 9 years earlier, maybe a decade earlier, and they wanted one. The NFL was getting its cap right about then. The Steve Young Super Bowl, which is now 30 years ago with the Niners, that was either the last or the next to last uncapped season in the NFL. So the other leagues got it. Baseball wanted it. They didn't get it. The players held firm.
It's one of the few times that the Players Association's actually won one of these.
The owners haven't tried this, been really committed to trying this for 30 years. There have been some minor scraps. But this one feels like it could be bigger and they could be dug in. And because both sides have so much money, that's why I think it could really go on. I mean, Pete Alonso isn't going to be wondering about house payments. I mean, they made big money in the 90s, but nothing like what they're making right now. I mean, Mike Yastrzemski is a journeyman, and he's getting 2 years and $23 million. Mike Yastrzemski is not a star. He's a good player. He's a solid player, but $10 million guys move around, and he moves around. DJ and PK.
#NHL.
Ian Cole skates it down to the corner. Cole, back of goal for Utah, up top. One-timer, Durzian, rebound, loose, and they score! Jack McBain taps it in, and we're tied at 3. Down the wall, Reinhart towards the front, tipped in, and Lundell scores! A puck thrown towards the net from the corner, bounced around, and the Panthers find a way to take the lead late. Anton Lundell knocked it out of midair. And it's 4-3 with 50 seconds left in the game.
And the Utah Mammoth lose again. When you are struggling, when you are on the proverbial schneid, it is hard to get off the schneid against the two-time defending champs. But that was their task last night. They scored first. They took the lead. The Mammoth did. They fell behind 3-1. They rallied in that second period and tied it up 3-3. A scoreless third period. Looked like it was probably going to be headed to overtime as they went into the final minute. But hey, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Win the puck in the corner, throw the puck in front of the net, and find a way to bang that thing into the back of the net. And the Panthers' ability to do that helped explain why they've been to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals and won the last 2. And the struggles continue for the Mammoth. Good battle, but nothing to show for it. They come away with 0 points. They're back at it again. Friday night, the Seattle Kraken come to the Delta Center. If they play the way they did against Florida, you would think they'd be able to get 2 points at home, which they need to do because November was ugly and December hasn't started out well, and they need the 2 points. They're at home, and it's time to get some results, get some wins. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. We're talking football with Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, at 8 o'clock. And we'll talk with Frank Dolce, former Ute quarterback, at 8:30. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The University of Utah Athletics is entering into what could be a $500 million plus equity partnership with Otro Capital. I don't think this is a good decision for Utah, if especially they're having an overly emotional reaction to BYU all of a sudden having the upper hand. This just seems like a really desperate move to be something that you're not.
It may have been a Hail Mary. I mean, if Utah was not going to be able to compete at all, and if there is going to be a line that is drawn of the teams that have money and the teams that don't, and you're going to get left behind.
But compete with who? Texas Tech has one guy and you're trying to keep up with that? BYU has an entire tech industry that's feeding into it. You're trying to keep up with that? Figure out a way to be
what you are.
What you are. Yes, what you are. By the way, ironically enough, which is what Utah has been good at since the early 90s.
Yeah.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, join Hans and Scotty from Friday from noon to 3. at the Grill, 2264 South Main Street in Nephi. The question of the morning is the question you get everywhere you go if you are a sportscaster, sports writer. It is the only thing people are talking about this week. Utes private equity, $500 million. What do you think? How's it? What? Ha, ah, ah! That's how that conversation goes. Got out of my car yesterday, went in the pro shop, paid to play my mediocre to bad 9 holes of golf with a couple of friends and a friend of a friend. In the pro shop, got the question. In the car at the first tee waiting to hit, got the question from a second person while I was telling a third person I'd just been asked by a first person. It's literally the only thing people are talking about. $500 million. Ah! There's still so many things we don't know. And I know that's a cop-out and it sucks on Sports Talk Radio. But here's the first thing people are screwing up. And I don't mean people at the U. I mean, this is everybody out in the world. Okay? The $500 million catches your eye. I get that. But Ross Dellinger's story... And I know the media takes a lot of hits, but people like Ross Dellinger and the other national writers, Yacht gets them on, all the Dennis Dodd, Tim Brandle's more broadcaster than writer.
Dennis Dodd's retired now, technically.
Who else do we have on? Other national writers you like to get?
We've had Brett McMurphy,
yes.
Stuart Mandel.
Yes.
We've had Bruce Feldman in the past.
Yes. All those guys have been around for a long time. They talk to a lot of people. They hear a lot of things. And when they write stuff, do I think they've gotten everything right? Probably not. I don't know if everybody gets everything right. But they get the overwhelming vast majority of stuff right. And in Dellinger's piece, I think his piece was right, and I think people are right out of the gate. They're messing up a couple of the numbers that muddy the waters. So there's a 9-figure cash infusion from Otro that is supposed to generate the $500 million. This company, Otro, isn't supposed to give the Utes $500 million. What are they going to do, and how are they going to pay him back? Well, okay, they won't. The first thing is the 9-figure capital infusion. That could be $100 million. That could be $200 million. It could be $250. It could be $325. We don't know. I haven't seen that number reported yet. Typically, they don't like to have that number reported. The $500 million is what is supposed to be generated. Now, the company Otro coming in with 4 main partners, and Dellinger and his story, if you haven't seen it, and I'll put it out there again, one of them was president of the Cleveland Browns and senior vice president of the Dallas Cowboys. And he worked on the hospitality side. You can charge a lot of money for hospitality. He may be looking at the U thinking, I can make you more money. Because right now, people come to a basketball game, and they walk in, they sit down, they watch the game, and then they get up and leave. And maybe they buy an $8 hot dog and an $8 soda. It's going to be a different game in the new arena. And I can tell you firsthand, because our radio station is now in the Triad Center, the 3 buildings just north of the arena. But we used to be in the arena on the 5th floor. A lot of you have been in the upper concourse and you've walked right past our studios, right where we were. And we were the only ones allowed in the building while they remodeled it. And we were told where we could go and when we could go, and there were different paths we had to take to get in and out. Some seemed obvious, some weren't. And literally we had to walk right through it while it happened. We could hear it happening. We could see it happening. We would walk in and there would be stuff coming out of the arena. There'd be stuff piled on the side. They gutted that thing. They made it look really different. And then they made a lot more money and the story started. Just on one level, they went out and made some adjustments that were pretty dramatic, and it was worth a ballpark. What would it be? I got to do math on the radio. This never ends. Well, Yuck, why do I do this? It was a little over $5 million a year. That's just what they were doing on the ground level with one idea. 8 times. Those bunker suites. Initially, $5.2 million. I don't know what they're worth now. And I think they've added a 9th or 10th one in there. They subsequently did stuff on the 6th floor. They did a lot of stuff on the 2nd floor. And all of that was worth a lot of money. So when you hear somebody is in the hospitality, that would all be considered hospitality. And right now, the Utes get none of that in the Huntsman Center. I'm telling you right now, where they build the Huntsman Center, how could you turn 100, 150, 200, 250 million, whatever it is, into 500 million, where they build the new building? And whether the Huntsman family, which has been really very, very generous to the University of Utah, are they going to want to keep the name on the building? You know, once upon a time, the name Romney was on the football field at Utah State. And now they sell that name. And the Romney family, really supportive of Utah State, and agreed to that. Now, would the Huntsmans do that? What would the naming rights be worth? And even if they don't change the name, where they build that arena, anybody who's driven past Allegiant Stadium on I-15 in Las Vegas, and a lot of you have been to games or concerts there, but even if you've just driven by on your way to San Diego or L.A. or, Newport, we all know it's Newport. How much more money is Allegiant Stadium worth with a sign that is unavoidable towering over the freeway versus if that thing had been built off in the burbs somewhere? Like an event in there, yeah, they make money off the events in there. They're making money off that freeway every single day. There's all kinds of ways to make money. And people who've been in it, from Formula One racing to the NFL, Otro's got people with these backgrounds in it, according to Ross Dellinger's reporting, which I totally trust. They got ways of making money. They got tricks. The Utah Jazz, I don't know if you've noticed this, they are not as good as they used to be. What? I know. Breaking news. Hit the sounder, Yak.
You mean they haven't made playoffs and they haven't been winning at a high clip?
I knew that would come up. That didn't take very long to come up, did it?
No.
In the Frank Layden, Jerry Sloan era, they went to the playoffs 23 times in 26 years. Yeah, they had that one rebuild that one time. Since Jay Slow hung it up, they have missed the playoffs. Well, this will be the 9th time they've missed the playoffs in 16 years. They aren't winning nearly as much. Does the money follow the winning? Well, of course it does. People pay more money to see winners. But is every winner figuring out how to make the most money? And even if the winning slows down, can you make more money? Yeah, they redid the arena. And it's not just that remodel. They figured out how to package. They figured out how to get in the doors of companies they couldn't get in the doors. And I heard forever, and Yak, I bet you heard this too, Brian Santiago was either going to be the president of the Jazz or the athletic director of BYU. I wish I had a buck for every time I was told that. He knows Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith knows him. Ryan Smith has complete and total trust in Brian Santiago.
And he was angling hard.
Now, there are people, and I can find them pretty quickly, and y'all can find them pretty quickly, who don't like Brian Santiago. They don't. They've had run-ins with him. They've butted heads with him. I've been told specific stories. And you know what that matters? A little, but not a lot. Well, he's the athletic director of BYU.
I was going to say, it mattered to a level.
It does.
And
I think he's older and more mature than he was.
Correct.
And we should all, as I said in the earlier segment, we should all be getting better and improving as we go along, or we're not doing it right. We're not doing life right if we don't.
And to your point, it still got him one of the two jobs he was looking for.
Exactly. And why is he at BYU and why isn't he at the Jazz? I think the Jazz, even though the product on the court is a work in progress, even though it's a work in progress, they're figuring out how to make more money. Now, does money follow winning? Absolutely. But can you figure out a way? And I am convinced the reason that Brian Santiago is the AD at BYU now that Tom is retired and he's not the president of the Jazz is because Jim Olsen, who is the president of the Jazz, has figured out ways, not by himself, but with a team of people, they have figured out ways, but he is sat atop the horse, and they have figured out ways to make more money, to approach companies, to package things differently, to provide experiences beyond the game, which I know Ryan Smith is very big into. He's talked to me about that. He's talked about it in public. I mean, it's got to be an experience. You can't win all the games. Sometimes you can only win 17 of them. But people still have to have a good experience. I mean, I love the trees out in front of the arena. I thought that was a sweet touch. When I moved here and I didn't know anything, I walked up like, that is pretty cool. And when I heard they were taking out the trees in front of the arena, I'm like, what are they doing? That is like, there's just something about that. It is from the Christmas lights in the winter to you going to a game in the spring and the leaves are coming out and it seems like everything is possible. They might win the title. And they took the trees out in front and they put in the Jazz note logo. And then when the hockey team came, they moved the Jazz logo over, and they put the hockey logo up there too, side by side. And when I walk to games, and I go walking in, the number of people I have seen taking photos there. But I also go by there, just because of where we're located, a block away, I see people taking photos there when there's nothing going on. Like, it's the magic. Now, those two teams aren't exactly lighting the world on fire now. The Mammoth are right on the playoff line, and the Jazz are nowhere near it. But there's a certain magic. There are things you can do that aren't tied to winning. And Jim Olsen, who was there in the Miller era, why has he stayed on? Why does Ryan have confidence in him? Figured out how to make money. Figured it out. Results aren't great, yeah, but he still figured it out. So, these new people who are coming in, I assume they figured it out. I assume they've already sat down and said, here's the plan. And here's how much money we're putting in, and we don't know that part of the equation. I can't do that math on the air. I can't do that algebra. I remember a little bit of that. X subset Y, whatever. Yeah, I could pass Algebra 1, right? Don't smirk at me, Yock. Are you on camera or just me?
You're on camera right now.
But are you? No?
No.
That smirk should have been on camera. People would have enjoyed that smirk. You right now think I would absolutely fail an Algebra 1 flash quiz.
I would probably fail Algebra.
Well, we can't solve this problem for X. We don't know. We don't know how much money. They're not getting a $500 million. That's supposed to be what they can build together. And presumably from the licensing, the hospitality, whatever they're going to do with the new basketball arena, and yes, winning, improving the basketball product with some of this money somehow. And all the details are kind of hazy on how they're going to pull this off. Nor do they want to give every other school a roadmap to how they're going to do this. But I think that's the first thing that's getting lost in this. Well, if these people give them $500 million, how are they going to get their money back? They're going to cut everything. Hey, listen. At this point, I assume most of us have had bad experiences with private equity. They're out there. They are out there. However, they don't all end poorly. Sometimes the private equity comes in and the company gets great. Sometimes those new owners come in and they find out how good your books are and they take a loan and they pay themselves a bonus and they sell the company and nobody at your company gets raises for a couple of years. I've heard. And about 15 years ago, I lived that experience. But that's not every story. So what will this one be? I don't know. They haven't given us all the details, nor have we seen what level they're going to perform at. But have colleges been leaving money on the table? Yeah, I go to college games, and then I go to pro games. Colleges have been leaving money on the table. And I think that's why private equity is sniffing around them, thinking you are the biggest game or the second or third biggest game in your state or in your city, in your region, in your metro area. We can make you a lot more money. We know how to do it because we've done it. In this case, we've done it with the Cowboys and we've done it with the Browns, who are the biggest things in their respective cities. Now, is Ohio State maxing out what they can do in Columbus? And are they going to take part of it? Yeah. So they're going to have to make money hand over fist. But I look at the Jazz and think, there was a time they were awesome. I mean, going to the playoffs 19 years in a row and 23 times in 26 years is awesome. And deep playoff runs in there. This last 16 years has not been awesome for the Jazz. Nothing close to it. 7 trips to the playoffs, only 3 playoff series won, 0 conference finals. Sloan went to more conference finals than the Jazz have won playoff series since he left. On the court, it is night and day. And there are reasons for that. And I think there's one that really stands out. And I think some of you people want to make it worse, not better. And we will get to that next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5. The Zone. The band of the day is Kool and the Gang. His longtime band member Curtis Fitzwilliams celebrates his birthday. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concert events in 2025, check out livenation.com. Kool and the Gang's been around a hot minute.
I think he turned 63 today, so yeah.
Kool and the Gang, senior night at Disneyland. A Southern California tradition. You bus up, you're there all night, you fall asleep on the bus on the way back.
I have heard my wife did it. She grew up in Orange County.
Yeah, Orange County, I'm sure. And so he bussed up the 2 hours there, and Kool and the Gang played out on Tom Sawyer's Island, off the end of the island, And then all the kids were over by Pirates of the Caribbean and everything. The band, keep the high school kids away. We need a moat. It worked out. All right, the Utah Jazz. We were just talking about the Utes and getting their $500 million deal. All right, that's not what they're getting. The injection of cash is 9 figures. It's not. We don't know the precise number. It's supposed to yield $500 in revenue. And how do you make money off the court when you're not winning, or off the field when you're not winning in football? And the Jazz have done it. I mean, the money they're making now, incredible steps forward on the business side, even though basketball has struggled. They've also had a lot of consistency on the business side. You know, Jim Olsen's been in that job, and Ryan Smith inherited him when he bought the team, and obviously they clicked, and Jim and his team, not by himself, but with a group of other people, figured out how to make a lot more money. And Ryan's kept those people in place. Now, the basketball side has been a little bit of a struggle, but I started adding up the numbers, and it's not as flagrant as what happened at Real Salt Lake, but I just think across all pro sports, regardless of the sport, there's some trends you got to look for. Too much turnover. It'll bite you. You got to pick your people, and then you got to let them go to work. And you got to let them make mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes. If you overreact to those and you end up with too much change, and it's not that the Jazz have controlled all of this, because they haven't. Other people have made decisions. But in this 16-year run that I was just referencing, where on the business side, it looks like the Jazz have just gotten a lot better, more lucrative. It's just incredible. Well, they've been struggling on the basketball side, and we usually think money follows winning. Well, while the basketball side has been struggling, they've had 2 owners, 4 GMs, and now they've had 3 coaches. And so for those of you calling for more change and off with their heads, well, I know they share the last name, but Austin Ainge is a different person, and he gets to make his own decisions. And he and Danny Ainge have both made it clear, like, they don't always agree, because nobody always agrees. So we'll see what kind of pivot there is coming up with Austin. This is the time of year to go scout and find what players. You can go scout the college kids you want to draft. I always thought it's a little sketchy this time of year. There's a few big games you want to see, but there's also a lot of games you don't need to see. You need to get an idea of how much players are improving, so you need to see them early in the season, but you need to see them against quality competition.
And I remember when he joined us, he said that very thing. He said the early part of the season, he was going to be around the team a whole lot more than he would have been otherwise. And I think Danny Ainge told Hans and Scotty, as a trade-off, Danny's been out scouting a lot more with Austin sticking with the team.
And then when you're out scouting, sometimes you scout the rest of the NBA and sometimes you scout college. You get to the conference season, especially the second round of conference, basketball people will tell you, yeah, now they're better scouted, and some of these teams are seeing it the second time. Now with these bigger leagues, second round of conference isn't the thing it used to be. And obviously you get the higher level of competition with the higher stakes in the NCAA tournament. You used to have about a month where you'd see everybody for a second time. There's only 3 rematches now in the Big 12. The conference is so big. You play everybody once, and then you got 3 quote-unquote rivals you play a second time. So that's less of a thing. So Austin will make his own decisions, but easy on the change. You know, the RSL numbers, they went through a period where between owner, GM, and coach, they were having almost 1 change a year since 2013. I think it was a 11 and a 12-year period. And that needs to settle down. You know that people have a plan and build something. And the Jazz, 2 owners, 4 GMs, 3 coaches, that's a lot of different voices. So settle down and focus on something. Now, I think they largely have since Quinn left. That was a major decision to break up the team and rebuild, and Quinn didn't want to go through what Will Hardy's gone through for 3.5 years. Will, I bet Quinn saw that video, Will being really upset in the huddle, and thought, yeah, I didn't want to do that. I don't want to have to go through that. Every NBA coach has headaches, but Quinn didn't want that set of headaches. So let these people, in the words of Russell Wilson, let these people cook. Is that the wrong expression, Yock? Did I not just put an exclamation point on that discussion?
It works.
I don't know. That's kind of let him cook now feels a little hollow. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, how's the news of this private equity deal landing around the Big 12? Well, we'll talk with Barry Tramel about that and about Texas Tech's chances in the playoffs, now that we know they're the 4 seed. And also Notre Dame. People fed up with Notre Dame. We'll get to that coming up. Stay with us. Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. DJ, PK with the day off. Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, joining us. Barry, good morning.
Well, has anything happened since we last talked?
A lot of stuff has happened. It's been awesome. Where do you want to go? Michigan has just fired their coach for cause, and unlike LSU, I think they actually have cause. And I got to think that every other college football coach in America is figuring out, okay, yeah, that kid, we were in the Final Three for him. Call his high school coach. Let's go. So you got that. Notre Dame's thrown a massive fit. Maybe the playoffs need to be expanded. It would BYU have gotten in expanded playoffs. It depends on if they go to 14 or 16. And then the Utes would be the first team out. How is Notre Dame being treated, and why is Notre Dame reacting the way they are? And then, $500 million. What? Private equity at Utah? Yeah, I think a few things have happened, Barry. Where would you like to start?
I don't know. Not with Sherrone Moore. Man,
okay.
Mitch Albom had a good line, although he could have expanded on it. He said, you wake up one morning, you're the Michigan coach, and by nightfall you're in jail. And for his long-term future, that wasn't even the worst thing that happened to him that day. It's a lot easier to get out of jail than to get another job like Michigan.
Yeah.
So, what a mess. What a mess. But I don't know. Let me say this. I want to start with Kalani Sitake and Clark Lee to a certain extent. This is just me sitting here in Oklahoma, just sitting back trying to figure out the world. I see how Notre Dame reacted.
Mm-hmm.
And then to disappointing news or disappointing results. And then I see how Kalani Sitake reacted. And not enough spotlight is placed upon those actions of those institutions and individuals, because I long ago quit listening to coaches or schools when they talk about leading young men and character and all that kind of stuff. But when you see what Notre Dame has done, basically scorched earth policy with literally anybody that they can get in their viewpoint. And then you see how Kalani accepted BYU's fall. It's just night and day difference. And so I applaud Kalani. I applaud BYU. I applaud the Big 12 Conference. I applaud the state of Utah. Anybody connected with the Cougars, I applaud them. And Notre Dame should be ashamed of itself. That's what I say about what I've seen in the last how many 96 hours.
There's a conspiracy theory story up on Yahoo Sports that you can read that this is Notre Dame's first play in the chess game to get out of the ACC deal, because if they join a conference, they have to join the ACC, and they feel like their strength of schedule isn't good enough. They know their strength of schedule is a problem. More conferences are going to 9 games. This year's schedule wasn't good. Next year's schedule isn't very good. That they're pivoting to get out of that so they can either go to the Big Ten or maybe form their own conference, whatever. Do you buy that this is a move in a chess game, or do you think it's just a temper tantrum?
Well, I do think they should be rethinking their relationship with the ACC. They didn't count on a couple things. They didn't when they made this deal a few years ago, and many years ago when they first aligned with the ACC. I don't think they foresaw how precipitous would be the fall of ACC football.
Mm-hmm.
The ACC has. I mean, did you watch any of that game Saturday night?
I did.
I'm going to guess the attendance at 15,000.
It was sparse. It was sparse.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Arlington. They're blowing the roof off Jerry World, the Cougars and the Red Raiders. I mean, just an unbelievable atmosphere. Now BYU didn't, play well enough to keep it going, but there was nobody. If Duke and Virginia had played basketball, in Charlotte on Saturday night, they would have drawn more people than what the football game drew. So they got problems in that conference. And now Florida State and Clemson are winning big, then things are okay or passable. But until that changes, it's red alert in that conference. And Notre Dame is stuck. I mean, Notre Dame's got zero. I mean, I know the committee did them wrong by leading them for 5 weeks. And, you're better than Miami. You're better than Miami. But, if you look at Notre Dame's case to make the playoff, it's not there. I mean, they played after they played their two good teams to start the year. They played Arkansas, 0-8 in the SEC. They played Purdue, 0-9 in the Big Ten. They played Boston College and Syracuse, 1-7 in the ACC. Played Stanford. Just one bad team after another. And then, they picked up whoever it was, USC and Pitt. And Pitt's not any good either. But so the ACC really did hurt them. And going to 9-game schedules, I don't know if you saw it, but Georgia and Louisville they've got a home and home. They agreed to scrap it yesterday just because, both schools are going to 9-game conference. They had to trim the non-conference somewhere, and both of them have already traditional rivals, non-conference that they play. So Notre Dame could be getting squeezed, and their only fallback is is the ACC, and that's not any place to build a resume. So, they've got challenges with that schedule, and the committee, for all of its many problems, ended up doing the right thing and saying, you know what, your schedule wasn't that good, and you lost to Miami straight up. So Notre Dame's got problems. I don't think they want to be in a conference. I don't think they want to be in the Big Ten. I don't think they want to build their own. I think they want to be independent. But independence, as BYU can tell them, is not always rosy. So I think that's some of the things they're dealing with. And, they made the championship game last year, and it was great, and everybody was for them and pulling for them. But this year, it didn't happen because of that schedule.
How did the $500 million private equity headline land in Oklahoma? And how do you think it landed around the Big 12?
Well, I think it is for people that don't understand it, they just don't think about it. For people that semi-understand it, I don't know that anybody fully understands it, but if you semi-understand it, I think it's an alarm about, I hope we don't have to do that. Private equity is, I'm not speaking from a position of strength here. I'm not speaking from a position of authority. When you start talking about numbers that big, I don't know. But private equity rarely has helped the product of whatever it's getting involved in. I can tell you that. It is in journalism. I can tell you all about it. It has been a what's the word? It has been a stopgap measure. It's helped get you out of deep holes, but without ever hope of being fruitful again. And that's just, is that the case it's going to be? I mean, this is going to be a big infusion of cash to Utah, no doubt about it. But, the theory is this helps the Utes, weather the storm until you get all this new revenue streams, and you'll be sharing it with the private equity people, but it's more money than what you were making earlier. So, you make the numbers work for you. But often the case is different. So I would be very alarmed. In Michigan, the Big Ten was ready to go down that road, and Michigan and USC as a conference, and Michigan and USC said no, and Michigan said, do this and we're gone. We're out of here. And, Michigan and Utah are not the exact same. They're not the exact same institutions, different everything. But to me, it's something you do only if you absolutely have to. Maybe Utah did. I don't have any clue. But, man, it's not something you really want to get involved with.
Well, the perception from the outside is that Texas Tech has more money than everybody, and BYU has more money than almost everybody. And it's not an accident that Texas Tech and BYU went 8-1 and ended up in a conference title game. I think there's a perception that the Utes have done more with less for a long time, and that's why they beat Oregon in a Pac-12 title game, and that's why they beat USC in a Pac-12 title game. But there does come to be a point where if you have a lot less money and you're smart, and they have a lot more money and they're smart, you can't beat the Dodgers. And I just wonder if Utah is looking, thinking, Texas Tech and BYU have more money, and they're spending it intelligently, so this is a major problem and we got to do something. Because otherwise, they're going to get further ahead and we're going to get further behind, and who knows if somebody else will get it together and we won't even be third.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a legitimate concern. I also think that other people are figuring stuff out without doing this, without the private equity. Indiana, Vanderbilt, heck, in the crazy ACC, Duke and Virginia. I think Duke's got a lot of money if they want to spend it. But people, it's not necessarily, what's interesting is the big spending fears of NIL and the transfer portal have not necessarily come to fruition in the big conferences. In the Big 12, Big 2, but in the in the Big 12, it certainly seems that way. But I would need more data points, to use a committee term. I'd need more data points before I might make a deal like this. And again, I'm not coming from a position of authority in high finance, so maybe there's an element to this. I don't know, but I can understand why Utah's doing it. But I would be very, very concerned if I was in Utah athletics, because down the road, it could be a bad situation.
I've heard a theory combined with an Ed Orgeron quote that makes me think, I wonder if we can kind of see around the corner and see what's coming here in the NIL era. For a long time, we knew big state schools, especially in the South, might be cheating, might be paying money, and that might be why they had an advantage and they won a lot. And then Ed Orgeron drops the quote on bussin' with the boys. You know what? Hey, Coach, you've been out of coaching for a while. How are you going to adjust to NIL? He said, well, it's a minor adjustment. What do you mean? I said, well, back then we used to walk through the back door with the cash. Now we just got to walk through the front door with the cash. All right? There's pretty much everybody thought about the SEC, said by a guy who used to work at USC and LSU. There it is. Now, I've heard that in this New World era, Vandy, that just wouldn't do that, so they were in last place in the SEC. Now it's all above board, and they've got a lot of smart grads who have gone on to have fantastic careers, and they got a lot of money, and this isn't a fluke. They're going to do this going forward, and watch out for the private schools, watch out for the smart schools. Stanford has a long way to go to turn things around, but Stanford has access to a lot of money. If they decide they want to play ball and win, they're not going to be short on money. Do you buy that we're at a big pivot point here and that these private smart schools are about to have a major advantage?
Well, I do think, I don't know about a major advantage, but I do think what they have is and BYU's in this, Georgia Tech could be in this, all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
They are in position to do something about what has been a decades-long problem in terms of fewer numbers, those kinds of things, state appropriations, whatever you want to list, you want to give, University of Georgia versus Georgia Tech, or North Carolina versus Duke, or whoever. They are in position to do something about it. And people like BYU and who did you say? Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Vanderbilt.
They haven't wanted to, they don't want to soil themselves by cheating. They don't want to soil themselves by getting in this mess. But now that it's open, now that it's free, now that it's the way it's supposed to be, they're willing to do it. I don't know. I don't think we're headed for a takeover. I do think we're headed for a more egalitarian situation where people that are downtrodden, and Texas Tech, throw Texas Tech in there. Texas Tech is not necessarily a rich school, but it's got some donors with some pocket change, and if they want to do something about it, they can. And so that's what we've seen so far. So I think it makes for a very more, and that's where the parity comes in, right? We've been talking about free agency has always created parity in sports, never has not created parity. And that's where it comes in this. It just gives other people more opportunity to get something done. So I don't know if I don't necessarily think they're going to take over the sport. I don't think Ohio State has to worry about Northwestern. I don't think Alabama has to worry about Vanderbilt. However, they're going to rise up and beat you from time to time, and they're going to get really good. And sometimes they might win the conference. I mean, Stanford not that long ago was the best program in the Pac-12 after Pete Carroll there for a few years. Mm-hmm. So, Oregon was a little down, USC was a little down, here came Stanford. So it can happen even in the old days, and it can really happen now.
What does a Big 12, decades-long football guru like Barry Tramel do when there's no Big 12 football? FCS, Army-Navy, Christmas shopping? What are you going to do with yourself, Barry?
Well, on Saturday, I am taking my 14-year-old granddaughter to her volleyball tournament over in Tulsa. I live in the central part of the state, so we got us a volleyball tournament. Her mother lost her mind and agreed to host a Christmas party for her older sister's softball team, which is, I think Sherrone Moore is going to have a better day than somebody that has to do that. But I got, me and my wife, we got to take our 14-year-old to the volleyball tournament. It's going to be great. I'll watch Army-Navy a little bit on my phone, a little basketball, but I'll watch a whole lot of volleyball. So it's pretty cool that we've got the way the schedule breaks out anymore. You remember we used to sort of take the whole month of December off because the big bowl games were at the end of the month or in January, and now we're only what's today? 8 days. We're 8 days from the playoffs starting. So football really doesn't stop. I assume eventually they're going to get this playoff when they get it to 16. They'll probably condense the schedule, and we may not have hardly any off weeks. If you don't play like Oklahoma and not Alabama, but Oklahoma and A&M and Miami and those teams playing in the first round without a conference championship game, that's basically a 3-week break. But that's going to go away, I think. So we won't have many days like this moving forward, I wouldn't think.
I'd agree with that. At the minimum, they move it. They'll put games on this Army-Navy weekend, and then we'll have semifinals on New Year's Day.
Yeah, which is a shame because I love Army-Navy. I love the idea that they get to
have center stage all to themselves.
Have the spotlight. It's a wonderful game. It's always thrilling to me. It's really cool. In Oklahoma, we're fired up because the Navy coach is doing a great job, and he's an Oklahoma City guy, great guy, and Brian Newberry. So got somebody you can pull from if you can't decide between the Black Knights and the midshipmen. So, it's an American treasure, the Army-Navy game. So I hate to see it get a little bit dinged. But that's just the nature of the way the world works these days, I guess.
Yep. All right, well, enjoy the tournament and enjoy the family time, Barry. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, see you later.
There's Barry Tramel. Just a few things going on. Michigan's going to need a new coach here very quickly, or they're going to lose a lot of talented players. And the Utes and the equity deal and Notre Dame. What are they going to do going forward? All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Frank Dolce, the former Ute quarterback, joins us. I bet he's got a couple opinions on the equity deal. We'll talk with him next. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is JJ and Alex. I got this.
There's another conversation to be had about the 12-team playoff, how BYU was treated by that committee this time around, which is very, very discouraging and disappointing because BYU did not get the respect that they deserved. They were underranked the entire process, which put them behind the 8 ball unfairly. When you take their resume and you match it up with Miami and Notre Dame and even Alabama, you can make a case for BYU needing to be ahead of those teams. They said BYU wasn't in before going into this week. Well, why not? You should have punished them after the Big 12 championship game. And why did BYU get punished for playing the Big 12 championship game and Alabama didn't? Alabama's sitting right now with 3 losses. One of those losses was double-digit loss to a 5-7 team, and they replayed the team that they beat that everyone's hanging their hat on with that game and that win over Georgia, and they got absolutely boat raced on the same Saturday that BYU did. Why are they getting excused? They didn't even move.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 7 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Look who's back. Frank Dolce. Frank, good morning.
DJ, holding down the fort, I understand.
I am. It's that time of year. Little vacation for PK.
Well, at PK's age, when he takes a day off, do you know what my first thought is?
I'm afraid to ask. What is it?
It's elective surgery.
No,
elective surgery.
No.
Don't you think?
It's R&R, baby. It's rest and relaxation. Good food and friends.
If he comes back and his cheeks are stretched around back behind his ears, I mean, what would you say?
I'd be stunned. I'd be stunned because, well, I'd say, hi, Jack Nicholson. I mean, you know. But it's not going to happen. That is so far out of PK's zone. I don't think he's going down that road.
If you were PK, what elective surgery would you get? Well, what would you do?
This is a horrible turn of events. I think I'm sitting this one out. Is this what happens when I'm gone? I'm starting to question your loyalty to me, Frank. I'm starting to question.
I can guarantee I've never asked about your elective surgery.
Oh, that's a pretty narrow window. Well, that leaves room for trouble. Just a different flavor of trouble.
Oh, yes.
All right, speaking of flavors of trouble. Right. Private equity, a 9-figure cash infusion that's going to generate $500 million. There are people thinking this is the only way forward for Utah in this changing world. There are people thinking, I remember when my company got involved with private equity. There were layoffs. It was horrible. We couldn't wait for those guys to go away. There's a whole continuum of responses. I'm wondering where you, and not just you, but I know the alumni talk, and you're in touch with teammates and coaches. What's the reaction? You can start with you personally or the bigger group. What are you Utes thinking? Because you're Utes through and through.
It's mixed. I mean, the reaction is mixed. And I think a lot of people feel like, you know what? In this world of college football, collegiate athletics, Utah doesn't necessarily have the resources to fund the program like other programs are being funded. And if the model is Texas Tech, then if that's the future of collegiate football, then Utah's going to have a hard time competing. Now, I love what Utah does, and they've always built with athletes and coaching staffs and people surrounding the program who were probably undervalued, and that's been the secret of Utah football, especially. So to compete moving forward in this world, it just feels like, unfortunately, you have to be able to, for lack of a better phrase, you have to be able to buy a team, and Utah doesn't have the resources to do that. I kind of like that. I mean, I feel like I feel like the donors might have it right. Like, I don't, do I really want to be involved with a $30 million roster? Like, is that my charitable gift to the university? Is a $30 million football roster? Like, what? I think there are a lot of questions about that.
Well, first off, the first question is, do you have the net worth to give $30 million every year? So whether you want to or not, you better start with you. I don't know whether you want to or not, Frank. I just don't think you can. So cross Frank Dolce's name off the list. Okay.
You think it's more of an ability to give rather than some larger.
I don't know what your desire is, but since you don't have the ability, it doesn't matter what your desire is. It's just you can't do it. And Frank, we need another $30 million next year too. So get on that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I hope I hope those oil wells are still producing because we're going to need that. And it's going to be 30 next year. And it's, whatever. And so I'm a little, I don't like the way it's going. I don't, the concept of collegiate athletes being paid or compensated. Okay. Maybe that's the right way to do it, but the way it's happening now doesn't feel like the right way to do it. And so, and I don't know how you rein it back, and I don't think we're getting any help from the government on reining that back at the moment. So I don't know. There's mixed feelings about it. With regard to taking on private equity, I mean, we all know the horror stories. We all heard the horror stories.
Or have lived them.
And I think, you can talk yourself into a false sense of security about that. Oh, well, wait, we have all the votes on the board. Oh, wait, they don't have decisions relative to personnel. And, oh, wait, but look, private equity exists essentially for one reason: to earn a lot of money, to make a lot of money. And so if there is a decision to be made regarding the football program, I'm talking about a decision of who you play, who's starting week to week, personnel decisions. I'm talking 3rd down and 6 at your own 13-yard line, and you need to convert. And is there some guy in New York on his computer running the analytics and piping in the play that you should be running next? Like, I don't think any of these things are outside of the realm of the possibility when you take on a partner that's sole purpose is to drive revenue. And then now every single decision becomes scrutinized, and they'll put a data point around it.
My experience is, and this may or may not be valid, but it's, you only know what you know. My experience is the problem with private equity is the plans are great, and there certainly are efficiencies that need to be obtained, and I can name some at the University of Utah for sure. And so they can drive greater income. I'm sure they can. But the problem is that it's not about the number of seats on the board. It's the fact the contract is usually written, and I haven't read this one, so who knows. But these contracts are often written, the private equity people get paid first. They put in this, they get this. Now, the rest of the money, that's what you're going to get to run the department. The private equity people, they get their money, and they get it first. And then I hope there's enough money for everything else. Now, I know they can generate more money. First off, you could sell more seats at a basketball game, right? We all know that would generate more money. But beyond that, Frank, the basketball experience hasn't changed that much from 1969 when that thing opened. You walk in, you pay $10 for a hot dog, you pay $10 for a Pepsi, you pay $10 for Red Vines, and you're done. Now, the Delta Center is newer, completely remodeled, making way more money on the first floor than they used to, making way more money on the second floor than they used to, and I think making more money on the sixth floor than they used to, although I don't have as many specific stories about the sixth floor. So they have figured out things, even when they're, and I know people say, oh, Utah basketball's bad. Jazz basketball has not been nearly as good the last 16 years. They've been to the playoffs 9 times in 16 years. It was 23 or 26 before that. The basketball hasn't been as good. They've figured out how to make a lot more money with the experience around the game. And yes, people are paying for winning, but they are also absolutely positively paying for the experience. So whenever they do this new arena at the U, if these people coming in with a hospitality background drive more revenue, I can see where they can make a lot more money. However, I'm certain they're going to get paid a lot more money, and I expect, although I don't know, I expect they're going to get paid first. Is there going to be enough money to fund the entire athletic department the way it needs to be funded?
Well, it's not a charitable gift.
Right? Not like your $30 million. Not like that $30 million check you write.
Yeah, absolutely. And now there's a for-profit entity. None of this is charitable. So, I think people should have that understanding about what's happening. And you're exactly right. The experience has to change because you need to drive people into the seats and people that are going to purchase a lot of stuff relative to the University of Utah athletics program. So that definitely, the entertainment aspect of the game in the experience, I think will absolutely change. So I don't know. At the end of this whole thing, whether or not Utah should take private equity, the issue is Utah has to. If Utah wants to compete at the highest levels, then they have to have the resources available. This gives them the resources available. Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right way to do it? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, I've said this, and maybe it's being overly dramatic, but if I'm Morgan Scally, and we've taken on, and let's just say hypothetically, Coach Whittingham stays for another year, and he runs out his contract, and now Morgan Scally is the coach in waiting, and Coach Whittingham steps down. Everybody celebrates. Here comes Morgan Scally. Well, wait a minute. Does private equity say, hey, is Morgan Scally the guy that's going to drive the most revenue to the University of Utah football program? Or, wait a second, there's this other guy out here who we think might be a better bet than Morgan Scally. I mean, I think those kinds of decisions are going to be very highly scrutinized, even though what I believe about the contract and what I believe about where personnel decisions still lie are with the University of Utah and with the athletics department. I just don't know how you get around an entity that's writing a check of that size.
So in all, are you more worried than you are bullish? I mean, you're not 100% either way. I get that. I'm just trying to gauge your level of concern versus your level of optimism.
Man, you know what? That is such a good question because I don't know if I've ever thought about that. Wait a second. Okay, after all of these things that we just talked about, am I excited about it? Well, you know what? That's a really good question, and I would have to say my initial reaction to that was, yeah. I mean, that could be good for the program. I mean, in terms of just black and white, wins, losses, competing at the upper echelons. I mean, maybe that could be the thing. But man, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with it. So yeah, maybe I am slightly on the bullish side.
For a long time, the University of Utah, this is very philosophical here, and we're getting into it pretty late in this segment, but for a long time, the University of Utah was about winning conference championships. And when they did, everyone celebrated. Then they got a taste of the big time, right? There was the Final Four with Majerus, and then the Fiesta Bowl, and then the Sugar Bowl. And there was this dream to compete with the biggest and the best at the highest level. And they got into the Pac-12. And then they got to the title game twice, and then they won it twice. And then they're 3 points away from beating Ohio State with a converted running back playing a corner. It was unreal. And so there's this taste, and I get it. You had to taste the big time. Now, go back 30 years when I moved here, San Diego State was still in the same league. They're still in the same conference. And when they moved to the Mountain West, they were still in the same conference 20 years ago. And then 15 years ago, everything changes. Now, my connection to San Diego State is pretty loose. My dad went there. I went to games as a kid. I haven't lived there since I was in high school. My connection to them is basically these 2 sweatshirts I wear that I found in the back of my dad's closet when I cleaned it out. And I'm wearing one of them right now. And that's it. But I've watched them they had the dream of the big time, but then they seemed to settle into, let's play for conference titles in the Mountain West. And they won with Rocky Long, and they had a good time. And didn't really fill the stadium, and they wanted to fill the stadium. They fired Rocky Long, and it all fell apart again. But their ambitions seem to be... And dictated by the way college football has gone. They've been left out and they've been left behind, and they're clearly, down a couple of tiers. But their ambitions seem to be win the conference, and I wonder if you can contain your expenses that way. If you don't have the money to compete with the top 5 or 10 schools in the country, and that's where the Utes got in football. I mean, they are on the fringe of the top 10, playing Penn State and Ohio State, who are in the top 10, and they couldn't beat them in 2 games. Now, there are a lot of people who believe, given a bigger sample size, the Utes will climb the next hurdle because they've climbed so many steps on the ladder to get there that they will climb one more. But I wonder, with the rules changing, is that realistic? Should you accept that your place in the world is a little less? And there are people hearing me say this right now who are screaming at their car, DJ, you're a moron. I know. I am. It's a fact. Let's not debate that. Let's go back to the question, should the Utes be trying to compete at the highest level? Because it seems like if you don't have top 25 money, how can you get to the top 10? You can outsmart your place in the money ladder a little bit, but you can't do everything with nothing.
I don't think we can. I mean, I think that if you believe that this equity group is coming in and writing a big check and saying, hey, go compete for conference titles, then maybe you get there every few years, and maybe you're competitive most of the time, and then that's not. If you believe that, then you're that's not the deal.
This deal screams beat BYU, beat Texas Tech, and get the top 4 seed that Texas Tech has right now. That's what this deal screams to me.
Absolutely, that's what I think. So the expectation now, I mean, as a fan of Utah football, I believe if Utah's winning, winning a conference championship and being competitive for a conference championship year in and year out, that accomplishes a lot of the goals, all of the goals, maybe. As a private equity group, I'm not stroking a big check to be competitive. I'm stroking a big check because I believe that if I write this check, Utah's going to win conference championships. Utah's going to get into the playoffs. Utah's going to compete for a national title, and that's where I make my money back.
Frank, we're going to leave it right there for now, but my guess is we are going to talk about this many, many more times going forward.
Many times. I think the greatest thing that I came up with today was the guy sitting in New York scrutinizing a 3rd and 6 at your own 14-yard line.
That's like the play clock's ticking, dude. What should we? No,
they have the whole analytics squad on it.
My experience is they will stick to the money and they will let you make one hire. But when if that hire doesn't work, they'll say you can't make that hire anymore. Look what you did. That's my experience with it. But we'll see. It's not with these people, so who knows?
Who knows? It's a brand new day for Utah. I'm gonna be optimistic until there's not a reason to be optimistic.
That's not a bad way to go through life. Barring trouble from the future, I'm going to be pessimistic until someone beats it out of me. Come on. All right. And then there's realistic sitting over to the side. Try that sometimes. It's not as much. It's not as much fun. You don't get to ride the roller coaster in the same way.
Not fun at all.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
All right. Thanks, Frank. You're the man.
DJ.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you soon.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got a poll up. You can go on Twitter and vote. This Notre Dame story is very interesting. It's not a local story, I get that, but I think part of this goes back to how many teams should be in the college football playoff. Notre Dame might be angling for whatever it is they're angling for, but it would look a lot different if they were on the inside. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? 12, 14, 16, 24? Cast your votes. DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bangs! G-Bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The John Watson Northern Utah High School Players of the Week are Abby Christensen of Fremont High and Traden Bessinger of Davis High. Christensen led Fremont to a 2-1 mark last week. She had 13 points, 8 boards, and a 42-41 loss to Bountiful. Followed that up with 25 points and a rout of Corner Canyon, and 22 points and a win over Ridgeline. Bessinger led the Darts to a trio of wins, tallying 19 points and a win over Copper Hills, 15 points and 12 boards and a win over Mountain View, Idaho, and another 16 points and a win over Mountain Vista from Colorado. See why new and used car buyers give John Watson Chevrolet more 5-star reviews than any other Chevy dealer in Utah. John Watson Chevrolet, your 5-star Chevy dealer. The number of high school basketball teams that travel out of state is incredible. There is so much traveling going on. There's so many tournaments here in Utah, teams coming in from Idaho and Colorado and Nevada, and at least they're adjacent states. You got teams coming in from Texas this weekend.
Well, and yeah, so this one was the Corner Canyon invited a bunch of these teams in state, but you're right. There's a lot of in and out of state travel from.
Yeah, Lehigh's got the tournament this weekend.
Correct, yeah. It seems that
Corner Canyon's had
each one has
in.
one each weekend. We had Pleasant Grove earlier this year, had the one where they brought in some of the bigger names across the country. So, yeah, it feels like almost every weekend this time of year you've got another high school hosting teams from all over the country. But just as much as we bring them here, there's a lot of teams traveling out of state as well.
Big story in Michigan. Sherrone Moore wakes up as the football coach at Michigan. He ends up in jail. There's an assault charge. There's allegations of an improper relationship with a staffer. Michigan has zero tolerance. There have just been one bombshell development after another. What matters here right now isn't clear. What could matter here, though, this Michigan is a big-time job. They've got a big-time roster. They went 9-3 this year. They got a lot of guys back. They got a young quarterback everybody loves. If Michigan doesn't hire quickly, they risk losing a roster and a recruiting class that's in the top 15 in the country. That's a lot of talent, and everybody else is sharpening the knives and going out and trying to get the player that they recruited and came second on, or either right now and flip them, or that they came in second on, a year or two ago or whatever. There's a lot of athletes, and I mean, that's the first thing I think every coaching staff went to. And a lot of these players have agents and are like, we don't need to get stuck with a bad year in the middle of a rebuild. Maybe I've got to move my guy somewhere. So you have players with agents reaching out now. I mean, everything's changing. And also you got the coaching search and the names. And to a degree, people are throwing stuff against the wall, but also they're throwing reasonable stuff against the wall. If you want a big name at a big program, if Michigan is going to rip off a big program the same way USC went and stole Oklahoma's coach or LSU went and stole Notre Dame's coach, how's that worked out? In either case. If you get either one of those, okay, is Michigan going to go to Alabama and try to kill the board? And maybe he says, hey, let's stay a step out of the posse. I've been pretty good here, but Alabama doesn't have the NIL money, and they're expecting me to do what Saban did, and that's ridiculous, so maybe he goes to Michigan. But then if you're looking for, hey, find a coach in a group of 5 who's really good, find the next up-and-comer, Jason Eck at New Mexico. Whatever Michigan does, it seems like is going to open up other jobs and the domino effect and what's going to happen. And as every job opens, that opens up more players. So getting to the point here where you're trying to put a roster together and it's absolutely crazy. Yes, everybody's looking at Michigan players and Michigan recruits, but depending on who gets hired, everybody could be looking at Alabama recruits and Alabama players or New Mexico players and New Mexico recruits. And you can say, well, it's New Mexico. It's like, well, Utah just plundered New Mexico. How did that go? Offensive coordinator, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. The running back was okay. He wasn't the guy. But the wide receiver was the leading wide receiver, and the quarterback was the guy, and the OC was yeah, that worked out pretty well. So brace yourself. Sherrone Moore's situation is about to impact a lot of other people. Which people, we don't know yet.
Well, and the other thing about it is, you think about it, BYU just locked up Kalani Sitake. How happy are they to have that locked in now when this is...
Because Michigan might have come after him. And who's to say Michigan wouldn't come after him? Because New Mexico locked in Steve Alford on a 10-year contract, and then Steve Alford magically ended up at UCLA like a couple weeks later.
True, and that always can happen.
So I think he's locked in. I think he'll be back. But college sports was wild when that happened with Steve Alford, and the merry-go-round only goes faster. I think people feel like they're not on the merry-go-round with the music playing, swinging around looking at the view. It's like 60 miles an hour. Can you keep your lunch down? Things are changing so fast here. Do you do the teacups at Disneyland?
Okay.
Those things look nasty.
My kids...
That's 60 miles. College football's turned into the teacup.
My kids love them. And they love to do like the extra spin
because the teacup is spinning and then you can spin the cup.
It messes me up.
I got on that one time and I thought, okay, I don't need to do that again.
I get forced to go on it because, kids want to do it, whatever. But I'm the one who sits there and I'm just like, all right, let's endure this for the 5 minutes it's going.
Yeah.
But it's not my cup of tea.
College football is the teacups right now, that's for sure. All right, with Notre Dame, and we'll get into this story coming up. With Notre Dame, they're complaining a lot. And they're complaining in a way that's drawing the blowback that we don't usually see in college football, which tells you that it must be way worse behind the scenes. But it is leading to the question how many teams should play in the college football playoff. Other teams might be upset, just might not be expressing. Well, they are not expressing it publicly the same way, but they are upset. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? What do you want to see? 12, 14, 16, 24? There is a great quote about that I think is going to stand the test of time. And as far-seen as this quote is, I don't know if it's far-seen enough. All right, it ties into this poll question. You can vote on Twitter, David DJ James. We will get to that. And, of course, this is going to directly affect Utah and BYU. I think without question. I think it goes the last thing that I just talked to Frank Dolce about. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Notre Dame is throwing a fit. There is a story out, which Yock found. Dan Wetzel, Yahoo columnist. Dan Wolken, Yahoo columnist. You did it, now I did it. Doggone. See what you did to me? You plant that in my head, Yock. I'm mentally weak. That's the problem.
It's because Wetzel was at Yahoo for so many years. He was synonymous with their columns, and he's now over at ESPN, and Dan Wolken moved into that role.
Okay. My apologies. Dan Wolken. Dan Wolken thinks this is the first move. Basically, to summarize, it's a good story. It's out there. I'll repost it. You can go read it. But to summarize this, and I wouldn't rule this out at all. In summary, they tied themselves to the ACC. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It was going to extend their reach down the eastern seaboard into the southeast part of the country where they would get a lot of games, higher profile, burnish their image, help their national recruiting, and that'd be great. Except the ACC has fallen on hard times. I mean, to be honest, the ACC's roots it was the Mountain West Conference of the East Coast, and then they brought in Florida State. And later they raided the Big East and they brought in Miami. And they've ridden those brands into the power club. But finally, it's down to the Big Ten and the SEC, and they're just not that. And like the Big 12, they're trying to find their way, and they are really struggling. And Notre Dame knows that, and Notre Dame can't get in the playoff, and Notre Dame's going to look for something different. And whether that's a Big Ten or whether they find some other schools and form a conference, one thing that Woken threw out is USC and UCLA just aren't going to like the Big Ten. It's just too far away. Notre Dame's got relationships with both those schools that go back decades, more football-based with SC, more basketball-based with UCLA. Hey, let's do something that makes sense. Because the three of us, the TV networks will notice, and then build from there. It's no different than what Chris Hill was in here. It's much lower level, but it's the same thought as the 16-team WAC is too big, and Chris talked about how the president at the U and at BYU had a call, and then they called three friends and so on, and suddenly you had a new 8-team league. Would Notre Dame do something like that? Notre Dame's not here to get left behind, people. They're way too invested. They got way too much money in this. They got 100 years of identity into this. Notre Dame's football identity is longer, has been going on longer than anybody's been alive. You're going back to Newt Rockne. And this matters a lot. What do they need to do to succeed next? Maybe they're like, why get in the Big Ten and split money with Purdue? Why do that? Why split money with Rutgers and Maryland? And USC and UCLA, you don't want to fly. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff. But when they come out, when the AD comes out and says permanent damage, that is not how university leaders talk. He took a bad situation and he escalated it, and he did it on purpose. Why? So really interesting story about where college sports may go. Now, it's a multifaceted discussion because that's private equity, that's conference realignment, and it's the college football playoff. I mean, it's multiple things all at once. As a consumer, I think what a lot of us care about is the games. The business stuff is interesting to a point, maybe a little, maybe more than that. But at the end of the day, you got to come back to the games. How many teams should play in the college football playoff? For a while, the playoff was going to wreck the sport, and we could only have 2 teams in the BCS title game. But then it turned out we could have 4 in the semifinals. But then it turned out we could have 12. And it turns out 12 hasn't ruined the sport. And they're absolutely looking at other levels and how they've scheduled 16, 24, 32 teams. The TV networks are absolutely looking at that. The streamers are absolutely looking at that. And what can they get the schools to agree to? Tonnage. More games equals more money. And everybody needs more money. So it's going to expand. How quickly and how big? I'm surprised, I got to say, we're almost up to 200 votes now, and 56% of you want to see a 16-team tournament. 30% want to see 24. My entire adult life, I've thought there should be a 16-team tournament. I thought it was crystal clear. And I got to say that I'm leaning more towards 24 in this last year. They're good teams. I know they need the money. The games would be entertaining. The power brands are not always the best teams. And they want in and they demand in. I think this is going to 24. And the fact is, I will hate watch just like anybody else. Do you watch the team or the player you love? Absolutely. But do you watch the team or the player that you don't love? Yes, you do. You know you do. You say you don't, but you do. You've absolutely watched the game and thought, I want so-and-so. Now, maybe you don't schedule it and sit there for 3 hours, but you channel surfing, you don't like them, you come in the third quarter, and you're helping build the ratings. There's a reason, and it's all been tracked over time. There's a reason more people watch as the game goes along. The hate watchers dial in. The casuals, I really hope the Cowboys lose. Oh, yeah, that's been said a million times. That's why the Cowboys are in all these standalone windows playing on consecutive Thursdays in November and December. There's a reason. I can see 24. Now, I can see it happening. It starts to get tricky with the weeks. I think that, the plan to make week 0, week 1 makes sense. And I can see it happening. And I think in a lot of ways, a 24-team tournament would be better to watch because one might obliterate 24, but 24 versus 9 could be a really good game. And along the way, that's what we want. We want to turn on a game, and I want to be entertained for 3 hours. And if it's a good game and it's back and forth and I know the storylines, I can watch it. And Michigan's not in a 12-team tournament this year, but they would have been in a 24-team tournament. And USC's not in a 12-team tournament and probably wouldn't have made a 16-team tournament, even though they're ranked 16th, but they'd be in 24. USC and Michigan have a lot of fans. USC and Michigan have a lot of people who don't like USC and Michigan. And the fact is, a lot of people will watch USC and Michigan. So make a 24-team tournament. And in the process, if a Utah or BYU gets in, and this year in a 24-team tournament, both teams would, in the process, if they get in, okay. But how do we make sure USC and Michigan are in? How do we make sure Notre Dame's in? Because not all of the big brands can be in at the same time. It can't happen. They're not all going to be up together, and they have to play each other. They're going to beat each other up. So I'm sure we're headed to 16. I expect we're headed to 24. How quickly is the question? Will it wreck the regular season? I don't think so. We were told 12 was going to. Well, then teams can lose a game, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, Texas lost a game week 1, and people didn't stop watching Texas football. And people watch week 1. We love our football. And that's one path forward to generate more money. What's going to control expenses? Because no matter how much money gets generated, they are going to spend it. And to me, that's the squeeze. And that's the thing that's probably being left out. And probably the private equity people are sitting back there going, we'll help you control expenses. And that's the part that scares everybody about private equity. This is like the PK when he talks about diversity. I want diversity. Hey, not my job. Hey. Commissioner wants more female referees, but he's not totally in favor of more female NBA commissioners. Female baseball, hockey, football commissioner probably wouldn't bother him. Don't want my sport dropped. Really don't want any sports dropped. More sports, more games. I think the intriguing part of this is that gymnastics, men's basketball, and football are only 3 things in the Utes private equity deal, so I can see where the other programs would be nervous. How do you generate money off of a college swim team? That seems difficult. But to the degree they can bring some outside the box thinking to this, maybe there's a chance to do something. All right, cast your vote. How many teams should play in the college football playoff? It's intriguing to look at those games. 16, 24. Where will it go? I think it's going to 24. Count the number of weekends in the year and see how many games they can play. I think they need to be done by the end of the semester. It's not going to end the chaos of the coaching carousel and all that, but it might minimize it, of the coaching carousel and the player movement and all that. And can they start the weekend before Labor Day and play that first and play a full schedule there? And then you count up the number of weeks on the calendar, and that's how many games. The traditions that go away along the way, maybe even the newer traditions like conference championship games, which really, depending on your league, have been a thing for 20 or 30 years. Those might go away. There just aren't enough games. Maybe they'll do the play-in games there. More games, more money. More tonnage, more money. Bring the money, because they're going to spend it. It is never enough. There was a time not that long ago when schools had $10 and $20 million budgets, and then they had $100 million budgets, and now they're at $250 million budgets. They just keep spending it. It doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, a little NFL because we got some NFL tonight, an intriguing game. There are a few teams in the NFL playoff picture where the wheels are coming off. It is not going well. Who's going to right the ship and who isn't? One team playing tonight is definitely on that list, and they are getting some key players back. Maybe that'll make a difference. We'll get to that coming up. And in the NBA, somebody's working on history. That's what they're working on. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
You've been listening to The Zone for decades. Yes! But now you can watch the guys break down your favorite teams.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Catch the video stream of DJ and PK, Jake and Ben, Hanson Scotty, and JJ and Alex right now at KSLSports.com or by searching KSL Sports on YouTube. Utah's best sports radio is on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's time for your Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. I'm an NFL free agent. Chargers moved to L.A. Nobody in San Diego roots for L.A. teams. We want to have a rivalry with them, and I learned growing up that's just not possible. They got a rivalry with San Francisco. They don't care about us. Now the Chargers are gone, follow the whole league. Love football, watch a ton of football. I'm intrigued by a bunch of teams here that started off good and have just gone in the dumper. Philadelphia, you were 4-0. You're 4-5 in your last 9. You've lost 3 in a row. What's your deal? What's going on? What's your problem? Well, they're not running the ball like they used to. The O-line isn't as good. Everybody's stacked up saying, well, if we're going to lose, we're not going to lose to Saquon Barkley running for 150. We're going to lose to Jalen Hurts throwing for 250 or 300. That isn't the Eagles' strength. And then you got the Colts, who I think are going to miss the playoffs. They were 8-2. They had the best record. They've lost 4 out of 5. The Jaguars, they got blown out. Until then, it's all been close games. And now they got 4 killers at the end of the schedule. Seahawks, Niners, Jaguars, Texans. Those are all good teams. They might go 2-2. I mean, there's also a decent chance to go 0-4. They brought in Phillip Rivers, 44 years old. I don't see how that can possibly work. I just don't. I don't see how that can work. He hasn't played football in 5 years. I think it's a case of the spirit is willing, but the body just isn't going to follow. The mind is probably there. I doubt he's forgotten football. But 44, your name's not Tom Brady. He beat the odds. There's one outlier out there. 44. I think after an 8-2 start, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7 straight losses to end the season for the Colts. And they've got to win 2 to make the playoffs, and they might have to win 3. I think the Texans are charging. And the other team that's fallen apart that looked really good, in addition to the Eagles, in addition to the Colts, in the NFC South, Tampa Bay, who plays tonight against Atlanta. Prime Video, 6:15. The Bucs, they were flying out of the gate. They were 5-2. They were beating good teams. They beat the Niners. They beat the Seahawks, who are 10-3. They beat the Texans. Their only loss was to the Eagles. They were 5-1 out of the gate. They dropped to 5-2 of the loss to Detroit, and that swung their fortunes. They've now lost 5 out of the last 7 games after that 5-1 start. After a 5-1 start, they've gone 2-5. The wheels have come off. Now, they're getting guys back. You know, Baker Mayfield, make more plays. Well, it's easier for Baker Mayfield to make plays when he's got Mike Evans. I have the highest regard for Mike Evans. That guy is an excellent wide receiver. And unlike a lot of excellent wide receivers, he seems to be super low on drama. And they seem to be mostly pretty high on drama. Jalen McMillan also, so he gets activated. So maybe the Bucs will get it going tonight. Intriguing storyline. Phillip Rivers had his press conference. That is an intriguing storyline. I get why people are talking about it. I don't see how it can work. Rivers steps in and leads them to the playoffs. And Colts made progress, but they got undercut by 3 quarterback injuries. You lose 3 quarterbacks to injury, even if I think 1 or 2 of them can't play, which I do. Even though 1 or 2 of them can't play, you lost 3 quarterbacks. Nobody's got 4 good quarterbacks. So NFL football tonight, and we'll get more into that tomorrow, looking ahead to the weekend. The college football news, we talked about this a little bit. Head spinning, it's going to impact other schools. It's going to impact other programs. It's going to help some other programs. It's going to hurt some other programs. Sherrone Moore, 2 years as a head coach at Michigan, replacing Harbaugh. First year was rough. Second year was better, 9-3. It appeared the arrow was up. They had good young talent on the team. They had a good young quarterback on the team. They had a good recruiting class coming in, ranked top 15 in the country. The arrow was up. It's going to be exciting to see what they can do next year. Sherrone Moore, fired by the university, charged by the cops, put in jail. What a day. I mean, it was one headline after another. Every time you looked at your phone, there was another disaster at the University of Michigan, another disaster for Moore. He's out, fired for cause, won't get any of the money on his contract. Unlike LSU, I think this one will stick. LSU, I think, was just trying not to pay money. But at Michigan, I mean, this is why these clauses are in the contract. Something happens that nobody sees coming. Maybe somebody in Michigan knew what was going on and saw it coming. But most of us, I never heard a hint of it. You ever hear a hint of any of this, Yak? Inappropriate relationship with a staffer, and now a charge of assault, and he's out.
And this is the thing. Like we've had the Bobby Petrino situation. Remember, he had hired his mistress as his personal assistant. The motorcycle accident, that all comes to light. He gets fired. But now to have him get fired for the inappropriate relationship, and then to end the night in county jail with an assault charge
Unreal.
pending.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
Unreal.
that's a whole nother level.
It is another level. Michigan's probably going to hire somebody else as head coach. From New Mexico to Alabama, there's all sorts of rumors and speculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as Penn State found out, just because you're a power program with a long, glorious history, you don't necessarily get your first choice or your second or your third. Now, maybe in the end, Penn State got a really good coach. Matt Campbell did great work at Iowa State. That can't be debated. That's a fact. What kind of work will he do at Penn State? Different situations. Sometimes these things work. Sometimes they don't. Michigan is probably going to rip off somebody else's coach. Maybe they'll hire a coordinator. Maybe they'll hire somebody who's out of work. But there's a decent chance. So Michigan players can go into the portal right now. Huge question marks there. Michigan's recruiting class, huge question marks there. Even if you don't get them right now, when do they go in the portal and when do you get them? This could reverberate big time. And whoever, if they go rip off a coach, whether it's Alabama or New Mexico, now there's another recruiting class, another set of coaches available. Where will the dominoes fall on this one? Once upon a time, the Bulls hired a head coach, so Utah State needed to hire a new head coach, and none of us ever connected the Aggies and the Bulls. And yet there it was. So we'll see where it goes with Michigan. That's the college football news. And for all the kids opting out of the bowl games, I think most of us are over it, but one more reminder, this is why they opt out. Louisville star wide receiver Chris Bell suffered a torn ACL during the Cardinals' loss to SMU. He's set to undergo surgery this week. He's one of the top prospects in the 2026 draft. Now, you can come back from an ACL. Many players have. But nonetheless, it's brutal. And maybe you don't regain that form. Maybe you don't quite have that explosiveness out of a cut. I mean, it's the NFL, it's tenths of a second. Tenths of a second are everything. The NBA news. The Oklahoma City Thunder have done it. 24-1. What is the best 25-game start in NBA history? 24-1. And the Thunder have tied it. They blew out Phoenix, and they didn't just blow them out. I think when I hear blowout in the NBA, I think 20 or 25. That was the first half. The Thunder are just annihilating people at a spectacular rate. It blows the mind. I mean, the Phoenix Suns, you got to give them credit. This has been a good turnaround season for them. They have, they were terrible last year, but they're over 500 now. They were 14-10. They're 14-11 now after that game. They lose 138-89. It was a disaster. It was a 49-point win for the Thunder. And they will now play the Spurs, the up-and-coming Spurs, who are 17-7, 10 games over 500 in their own right, in the semifinals, which I think is Saturday. The crazy thing about the Thunder is they're not doing this with their best lineup. They have guys missing games. They played 25 games, and the only player who's played in every game is A.J. Mitchell. That's it. Mitchell's the only one. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander missed one game, the game with Utah here. Wallace missed one game, and Jalen Williams missed one game. The other Jalen Williams, the really good Jalen Williams, has missed 19 games. And you got players, Holmgren's missed 4, Wiggins has missed 11, Dort has missed 9 games. And you got guys missing games all over the place. So they're not running their guys into the ground. They're not all out chasing some record. They're playing whoever is available, and many nights they have multiple people not available, and they're winning and destroying people. I mean, this is incredible. Can they sustain it? Normally you say no because nobody sustains 24-1. 73 is the record. At 24-1, oh, geez, I'm doing math on the air. They'd be 72-3 with 7 games to go. Okay. 3 losses, over or under. I'll take the over, and so will everybody else. But this is really remarkable. And it draws straight comparisons to the Warriors. We haven't had a dynasty since the Warriors. They won their 4 titles, and now it's just one different team passing around. Denver's got it for a year. Toronto's got it for a year. Milwaukee's got it for a year. Just keep passing the title around. But maybe the Thunder are about to change that, the way the Warriors did. Now, the Warriors won a title, won 73 games up to 24-1 start, and famously blew the 3-1 lead. The only title they didn't win in a 4-year span. They won 3 out of 4. We'll see what happens with the Thunder here. But it's intriguing. And the Spurs are up and coming. They should be. They've been really fortunate. They got draft picks number 1, 2, and 4. So the ping pong balls broke their way 3 times. I know Jazz fans, 0 for 3 on the ping pong balls. I know. Hopefully it'll be 0 for 4 because they're not getting to the playoffs, and hopefully they don't give away that draft pick. Maybe this year. Maybe it'll be 1 for 4. That's got to be the goal. Turn 0 for 3 into 1 for 4 and move up. And the Spurs moved up, and they've made other smart moves because they've lost some of their star guys, and they keep winning. Jazz are off again tonight. They're back at it tomorrow. Yak, what number do I give you? 65 or 70? If I give you 65 wins for the Thunder, you take the over. I can see it in your eyes.
65, I'd go over.
Yeah. 70, would you go over?
No. Here's the thing. You're right in saying that if they were to replicate this 3 times, it's 72. That's just the record.
They're not going to do that.
They're not doing that. So I do think that 65 is attainable, but I think they sit right in that sweet spot between 65 and 70. Like somewhere, maybe like they win 68 because they're winning without having to essentially gas everybody. This is not the New York Knicks the last couple of seasons where they're redlining everybody. No, they're rolling out the lineup they have and they're steamrolling everybody. So there are going to be some games that they rest guys, but yeah, I think that's 65 to 70. That's a good over-under, right in that realm. Like you were to like 67.5 over-under, man, I'd have a hard time picking that.
Be sweating that one out, huh?
Yes.
2 teams have gotten to 70 wins. Michael Jordan's Bulls,
yes, and
when
then,
Michael was mad.
Correct, 72-10.
And then the Warriors.
Yeah, and that's 73-9. So it doesn't happen, obviously, very often. But this team, if they wanted to push for it, I think they could chase it, but I just don't think they will.
I don't know that they have to push for it.
Well,
there's
sure.
10 teams tanking at the bottom.
Fair. Yeah.
10 teams. That's why Jazz fans are stressing over losing the lottery pick. Jazz fans aren't debating whether the team is bad. They're debating how bad the other teams are and are the Jazz bad enough. I mean, nobody had the Pelicans this bad, but they're 3-22. They are awful.
The moves the Pelicans made in the offseason kind of.
It's crazy, but Queen looks like a really good player.
That's one guy.
Now, could they have gotten him? Could they have picked him without giving up this year's first-round pick? You know, they might have Queen and somebody else, right?
Sure, but the moves that the Pelicans made in the offseason.
It is crazy. I know.
Yeah,
they had 2 first-round picks, and they shipped them both out. Now
your overarching point is, a third of this league is
Pelicans terrible, Jazz terrible, Kings terrible, Wizards terrible, Pacers terrible, Nets terrible. That's 6 for sure. That's 20% of the league.
And then we were talking about Dallas earlier.
You got an argument for Dallas. You got an argument for the Clippers. You got an argument for Charlotte. I'm leaving some. What did I say about the Kings? Did I have them as terrible?
You put the Kings already in there, yeah.
Okay.
The interesting one is Charlotte.
Blazers.
Blazers, yes.
What are the Blazers going to do?
The thing with the Charlotte one is Con Knippel's been absolutely dynamite. Yeah. And he may keep them, I guess, a touch above the rest of that. Yeah, because here's the funny thing, DJ. We're looking at like kind of a 3-tier system in this league where you have 10 teams at the bottom, 10 kind of middling squads, and then 9 teams that's chasing the Oklahoma City Thunder, hoping they can win a title.
9? Really?
I'm just. If you want to break it into 3 tiers, it might even be less than that.
I think the middle is bigger and the top is smaller. I think Denver's
in it. Yes.
Denver, Houston,
Lakers,
Detroit. I think Rich Paul was right about the Lakers. I think it's weird he said it. I don't know what was more startling, Rich Paul or Notre Dame's athletic director, Bavacqua. Pete, right?
Pete Bavacqua, yeah.
Because of Kurt Bavacqua, I get confused. The Lakers are really good, but they are just not built to win a championship. And they're good. They're a good team. They got good players. They are missing key pieces. They are going to give up too many points in playoff games because they don't have enough size at the rim. The rim protector. You know what a Laker championship team looks like? 3 7-footers swatting Jazz guys' shots from all angles. Yeah, I want the rim protector at the front of the rim. Yes, absolutely. That's textbook. I want the 7-footer at the rim who swats everything. But to have the 6'10" to 7-foot guy who comes flying in unexpectedly from the free throw line, from the corner, from wherever, and blocks your shot from behind or from off your shoulder, that's pretty hard to deal with. And they don't have 3 of them like they did back in the day when they won 2 titles with Kobe and Gasol. They got none of them. So they're good and they're going to win regular season games, but by the second round of the playoffs, I think they're going to be in real trouble. I can see them winning a playoff series. I don't doubt that. And Luka's Magic, maybe they can win 2. I mean, Luka dragged that Dallas team to the NBA Finals. Nobody saw that coming. They weren't that good. And yet there they were. It's not hard to see them 4th and playing Oklahoma City in the second round and doomed. And yet the Knicks, the same way. The Celtics, I appreciate what the Celtics are doing. Shorthanded. They lost a guy to injury. They chose to move on from a couple other guys. I get it. That's a lot of money. That's a repeater tax. And they're winning. They're playing 600 ball, as they say in the major leagues. You know, you're playing 600 ball, you got my attention. Orlando's up and coming. San Antonio's up and coming. They don't have the playoff experience. I can't put them on the top shelf. The top shelf is short. Denver, Houston, Detroit. And I'm talking myself into Detroit, honestly. If any of you guffawed, okay, I'm with you. It's 3.5. It's not 4. But somebody's got to be in the East with a chance to win, don't they? Well, we've seen it before where no one in the East had a chance to win.
I was going to say.
I've seen other years.
It feels like, in some ways, the East, the top-tier teams you would have thought were decimated last offseason. Not last offseason. They were decimated in the playoffs that kind of preclude them from making the run this year. Because Indiana sunk right to the bottom.
Injuries.
Because of injuries. Same thing with Boston. Like you said, Boston's battling.
Cleveland should be better.
I agree Cleveland should be. It feels like Cleveland needs to make a move to get whatever's wrong with them fixed. Because in theory, this should be Cleveland's time to really rise to the top.
Detroit saying thank you. We'll take that.
And Detroit,
we'll take that opportunity.
To Detroit's credit, they have taken that opportunity, at least so far. Cade Cunningham's been absolutely awesome. And Jalen Duren, by the way. You want to talk about young big men?
Some of these teams have been down. Now, Orlando was down for a long time. The Jazz have been down 3 years. This is 4. You know, there's no obvious light at the end of the tunnel here. It feels like it's out there, and it's got to be out there for everybody. But, Orlando and Detroit.
There's some indications that Orlando could emerge.
The Spurs, the Rockets, it wasn't that long ago, the Rockets were way down. So it's got to make smart moves, get the right guy. I mean, the Clippers are down now. They gave up on SGA. Mistake. Massive, gigantic, enormous mistake. And where's their draft pick for this year? It's in Oklahoma City.
Hi, Oklahoma City.
It's in Oklahoma City. The Thunder might have the Jazz pick. The Thunder might have the Clippers pick. It's unreal. They just keep reloading.
Sam Presti,
24-1,
is an absolute wizard with his front office moves.
24-1. All right, DJ and PK, one last thing. The Utah Mammoth, the struggle is real. Back-to-back home losses, 3-game losing streak. They played well. They battled. You got to give it to them. They battled Florida, and they end up losing 4-3. They scored first. There's all kinds of stats about getting the first goal. Absolutely. They got it. They gave up 3 in a row. That wasn't great. They're down 3-1. They could have folded their 10. They didn't. They immediately struck back for 3-2. They got it to 3-3. They had the whole third period to battle. And Florida scores with 50 seconds left and wins the game. Because, hey, the puck's in the corner. Just somehow get it in front of the net and see if something good happens. Some of the basic things that you learn very on. I am not a hockey savant for sure. I am a long, long way. But, man, I've heard enough people who do know hockey to say that over and over, and look at it pay off. Get that thing out of the corner, get in front of the net, and see if something good happens. And it did, and Florida wins. And that's the kind of stuff that gets you to the Stanley Cup 3 years in a row and gets you to win 2 titles. Seattle's coming in, the Kraken, at the Delta Center tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Utah Jazz are back at it tomorrow night, too. We're in a little bit of a lull here. They're in Memphis to play the Grizzlies tomorrow night. The Grizzlies, where are the Grizzlies going? Who are they? What are they doing?
They're firmly stuck in the middle.
11-13, rock solid middle team.
Yeah, it feels like they're stuck between jettisoning Ja Morant, going all in on Jaren Jackson Jr., or realizing that Ja Morant has scuttled all of his trade value.
Both those things are true. So what are they going to do?
They're stuck.
They do need to move on. If they move on, it's going to be for pennies on the dollar. It's not even going to be for 70 cents on the dollar.
The history of the NBA says you're just going to have to bite the bullet.
Well, and Austin Ainge said this, and this is one thing that has made me, because I'm wrong about the Jazz timeline. I thought they'd be in a much better place by now, but I also assumed that they were going to be making trades, and they've done almost nothing. And I thought they would bring guys in and flip them, and it's just, and Austin said when he came in, we're in a period in the NBA where the repeater tax is so high, and everyone's up against it, and contracts are more important than players' abilities in so many conversations. It's not about, can we trade this player for that player? It's about, can we handle this contract? Can we move that contract? And that has led to the Jazz getting super quiet on the trade front at a time when I assumed they were going to be super active. But there isn't a lot going on. It's going to be interesting to see Chris Paul try to. How do you move Chris Paul? How do you move John Morant?
Well, and Paul can't be moved until I think it's the end of this week. When
December 15th is a big date for a lot of players. So that's when the trade market can really amp up. We're only 4 days away now.
But to your point, because if you move it then, if you don't move then, you have to wait till February when the trade deadline comes rolling around.
DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback, that poll question, how big do you want the playoff to be? We will get to that. Next, you can vote on Twitter, on X, at David DJ James. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? Got the poll question up. How many teams should be in the college football playoff? Is 12 the right number? You want it to go to 14, to 16, to 24? I see the logic of 14, get 2 more teams in, and 1 and 2 get a bye, which will usually be the Big Ten and SEC champs, although this year it'd be 2 Big Ten teams. Should go over super well in the SEC. They'd be thrilled. 2.3% of you want a 14-team tournament. That is a non-starter. 10% of you want to stay at 12. And I do think 12 makes sense for a lot of reasons. But 16 is going to make more money. We're going, people. 57.7% of you are saying 16. Almost 30% of you, 29.5%, say 24. I think it's going to 24. And honestly, I would probably complain about that because I've thought most of my adult life there should be a 16-team tournament. But I recognize they need more money, and I also recognize that looking at some of these matchups, I would watch them. And a lot of you are wired like me. You like to watch football. You're going to watch them. Well, if they're games we like and games we watch, what are we complaining about? Number 16, USC, playing number 17, Arizona. It's an old Pac-12 game. I'd absolutely watch it. I would hope that the Big 12 school just sticks it to SC. Would I be watching SC? Possibly. Maybe. Yeah. All right, I would be fine. I would absolutely watch that game. And they would make more money. And number 18, Michigan, would be at number 15, Utah. We would all watch that game. Massive ratings. I don't even debate that. Number 19, Virginia, would be at number 14, Tulane. I didn't say every game would be a big hit. People would watch it. I'd be curious. Who's the Cinderella? I probably wouldn't watch all of that game. Tulane would be at Texas. I love the little guy playing the big guy. I would absolutely watch that game without question. Houston would be at BYU. Again, we would all watch that. Ooh, conference rematch. Georgia Tech's at Notre Dame. We would all watch that. I mean, these games would be good. We're going to 24. And furthermore, I've decided I'm not going to complain about it. It's not really what I want. It's certainly not what I'm demanding, but it's coming. They need the money. All right, fine. So 57% of you are saying go to 16, almost 58%, and almost 30% say go to 24. You can live with it. It's coming. We can all see that. Tomothy at BYU Apologist. The number doesn't matter as much as creating a transparent ranking system. Good luck with that. But yeah, I'm with you. I do think the more the bag gets moved back, we should probably get into this tomorrow. The more the bag gets moved back, the less outraged I get. In a 2-team playoff, right now, would we have Indiana and Ohio State in a rematch, or do we get Indiana and Georgia? I think that would be the debate. Texas Tech, 12-1, I think they get ignored. In a 4-team playoff, Indiana, Ohio State, and Georgia would all be in, and the argument between Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M could be pretty intense. Tech might win that. They might, as a conference champ, they might get in. Oregon schedule, not great. Texas A&M's not great. At 12, we're leaving out 2 lost teams. I mean, really, isn't the champion in the tournament? I don't think anybody who got left out, Notre Dame wasn't winning at all. BYU was not winning at all. Texas was not winning at all. Vanderbilt, on down the line, not doing it. If the goal of the tournament is to be the champion, they got the champion. The champion is in this tournament and can prove it on the field. The problem is there's so much money at stake in the other games, and let's be honest, there is so much prestige at stake in these games. What you do in the transfer portal, what you do in recruiting, how you renew your season ticket holders, how you renew your corporate sponsors, all at stake. All of it. So much on the you got to be in the tournament. So, yeah, we're not arguing about the winner anymore because the winner is in the tournament. But we argue about the other stuff because the other stuff's important, to be sure. All right, DJ and PK, more coming up tomorrow morning. Back here tomorrow with David Locke, Kevin Graham talking NFL football, David Locke talking jazz. Jake will be in the 9 o'clock hour. We got more on the way tomorrow. Jake and Ben are coming up next right here on The Zone.